Call the meeting to order. Welcome to a special board meeting of the Van Irrigation District Board of Directors. The purpose of the plan workshop. Today we are on stage 5. We just want to thank
Somebody's volume's on. One moment.
Everybody has a volume on here. All right, if you'll all join me with a salute to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. Madam Secretary, will you call the roll, please?
Yes. Division 1. Here. Division 2.
Here.
Division 3. Here. Division 4. Here. Division 5.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, as we have been doing in the past, this is a workshop format, so we will be workshop format. We are not, I can't talk either. Not formal, okay? So if you want to speak, those watching from home or in the room, just shout it out, okay? And also our General Manager, Jennifer Hansen, will be acting as our moderator today, as she's been doing. And I think that's all I have to say, so we'll turn it over to her.
All right. Thank you, everybody, so much. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jennifer Hansen. I'm the General Manager of Nevada Irrigation District. So this kicks off our strategic planning portion of our Plan for Water process. So the Plan for Water process, as we know, is multi-stage, and this is stage 5. So as, first of all, I want to do a couple of logistical items. There are snacks and water, so please feel free to help yourself. There is, the restrooms are right outside those doors. You can't miss them. Members of the public, if you have any input at any time, just raise your hand and I'll get you in as soon as possible. You're welcome to talk from your seat, or you can also go to the podium. And then our public members at home, if you'd like to participate in any way, you have 2 options. You can raise your hand, or you can also use the chat function, and we will get your comments slid in as soon as we possibly can. So as with our tradition, just a quick check-in on the Plan for Water matrix. So as everybody knows, the matrix is the tool we've been using for each stage of the Plan for Water. And just a quick check. Tyler, am I loud enough back there? All right. We do have a microphone, so hi Jeremy. If I am not loud enough, just let me know and I can utilize the microphone. So the Plan for Water matrix, according to the matrix, I am definitely getting up there in age and comparatively read my own matrix. We are in stage 5, strategic planning. So strategic planning is thought to take approximately 3 to 4 meetings. As always, based off of the input we receive from this group or from the public, we can make modifications as necessary. So feel free to chime in if you have any questions. So our first meeting is going to, it may seem a little bit boring, but it does serve a purpose. We are really trying to set the groundwork for, Hi. How are you? Good. Welcome. I just needed some assistance. You're all good. All right.
I got the other leg.
So as always, we like to be dynamic and responsive to the public as well as to staff and to board members. So if you have any recommendations for improvements for the next meeting, let us know and we'll try to see if we can't incorporate them. This meeting is going to be focused on laying for the groundwork that is going to be utilized as the building blocks to facilitate the full strategic planning process. So the strategic planning process is intended to develop the district's mission, vision, values, and strategic priorities. And we're going to go into more in depth about what each one of those are and what they're utilized for when we kind of move forward a little bit. One of our first items we're going to do is we're going to focus a little bit on leadership. And the reason for that is any high-performing organization has a really sound leadership basis, and that leadership basis should be continued throughout all staff, with the board, and even with members of the public. You also serve as leaders within our variety of stakeholder groups. So one of the first things we're going to do, and one of the biggest tenets of being a leader, is learning how to have empathy, right? So having empathy means that you can really put yourself in other people's shoes and understand where they're coming from. You may not agree with them, but it's a good tool to better understand maybe where they're frustrated or where they're concerned, and it helps just with future dialogue and communication, which always leads into more sound decision-making as well as stronger teams. So in order to start that off, I'm sure most of you who've been participating all along, there are some new faces sitting in this room. And so we invited additional staff members to this room because the staff members that are present today are what I refer to in conjunction with the board members as NID's leadership team. So we not only have all of the department heads present, but we also have the mid-level managers who really actually make the NID, wheel turn and do all the great things we're able to do. So with that, to start it off, we are going to do a quick round of individual introductions. And the purpose of this is so that you can learn a little bit about everybody else, who they are, what department they're in, and then maybe a quick personal fact, because these are the things that start laying the groundwork for those empathetic relationships. So with that, Chris, you want to switch the slide?
Oh, sure.
Oh, we don't even have our slides up.
Yeah, I was thinking that for you.
I've never had lots of words, right, even without slides. All right. So I'm going to pick on, let's see, which table wants to go first? How about this wonderful table? Oh, yay! So there's a little bit of guidelines. Can you go to the introduction slide?
There you go.
All right. So if anybody could start. Steve, would you like to start?
Sure.
All right.
Name's Steve Crosser.
We should all stand up so people can't see. And everybody loves it.
Steve Crosser, I'm Director of Maintenance for NID.
Yay, Steve.
And favorite movie, Blues Brothers. And why did I join the organization? For two reasons. One, I tend to gravitate towards exceptional leadership, and I had been, had a leader in Lincoln as our city manager who excelled, and as she moved in the Valley Irrigation District, when an opportunity arose for me to continue providing that excellent customer service and that service to the public, I jumped on the opportunity.
I promise I did not pay him to say that.
I'm Tor Larson. I'm Water Resources Superintendent in the Operations Department. Favorite movie would be Forrest Gump, and a couple of the reasons I really enjoy working at NID is one, the diverse group of workers and in the ranges of fields they cover, really rewarding. And another aspect is our incredible reservoirs. We have some really fantastic reservoirs. If you haven't got to see them up close and in person, they're truly amazing.
Hi, I'm Karen Hull, NID Division 3 Director, and my favorite recent movie is Coda. If you haven't seen it, it's just it's a great heart movie. And because you said two nice things at NID, I get to say two more. My first number one favorite thing is the quality of the staff. I really sincerely believe this is one of the most dedicated, knowledgeable, talented group of employees, and I think that we as customers of NID are extremely lucky to have this talented team. And the second thing is just what NID does for our community. This Nevada and Placer County wouldn't be what we are today without NID, so the role is just so important.
I'm Aurora Tipton, and I am the Customer Service Administrator at NID. I'm going to change it up a little bit and go with the food. I actually like all the food, but right now, I'm really enjoying nectarines. And why I chose to join the organization. So I actually joined very young. It was my first real job. And then I left and came back, and I chose to come back because of the environment, because of the people that I worked with, the organization's mission, and really the family that we were.
Perfect. All right. Wanna kick it off for your table?
You got it. Rich Johansson, Division 5 Director. Favorite food, probably Satsuma mandarins. There's no mystery there, it's provided a living for us. But sushi right now, and there's a rock star named Colonel who just makes the most outrageous sushi, and we'll travel hours to get it. So favorite thing about NID are the people and what the contributions to this community that NID has provided. And I agree with Karen that our counties would not be the same without it. We're in a very privileged position in California to have the reservoirs, to have the water, to have the staff, everybody working together right now to provide water for this community, and we're very blessed to have that. Why did I choose to join? To give back. You know, I'm a certified organic farmer. We need water. Farmers need water, ranchers, homesteaders, ranchettes, everybody. Just want to make that to continue, that legacy.
I'm Monica Reyes. I'm the Director of Recreation. I really don't have a favorite food or movie. Sorry. I just jumped. The favorite thing about NID, I'm 26 years in. I started at the bottom, and it's allowed me to work my way up, and I love working with the public. The good, the bad, the ugly. I love a challenge, so from you.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Ortiz. I'm the Information Technology Director here at NID. I'm going to change it up. My favorite thing is I'm a huge baseball fan. I'm a diehard Dodger fan, so a lot of haters in here. I bleed Dodger blue. What brought me here is I came from the healthcare industry, working at a hospital for many years, and I wanted to translate that, my education and my experience in IT into NID. So it was a challenge for me to come up here. It was a challenge to understand the technology here, and I'm up for it. So thanks.
My name is Vicky Lauer. I'm a communications specialist here. My favorite food, I'm going to go along with Rich, fish, anyway, anytime, anywhere. What I best like about NID are my colleagues. They're talented, they're supportive, and they're very inspirational to me. Every day I'm thankful.
Cameron, you want to kick it off?
Sure. Cameron Price, I'm one of your maintenance superintendents. Maintenance strong. I'll go with favorite food. Meat is my favorite. Pretty much any type, as long as it's barbecued or not overcooked. Been here at the district for a long time. I had the opportunity to see a little bit of what NID did prior to me joining this team. It always interested me, the type of work that NID did in the maintenance department. I have a construction background, so it was very enticing to me to come to NID with the construction that the district does and where it gets to do it. The other part was working with a team. Previous job experiences was always alone work, so it was nice to share that burden with the rest of the guys.
Hello, I'm Tina Conkle, hydroelectric compliance analyst. Favorite food, Mexican food. Love spicy food. My favorite thing about NID, I work with a really great team of people who take a lot of passion in what they do. They bring a lot of skills, and you know, every day we come to work with a purpose, and it's really incredible what we get to do. And I chose to join the organization. Like Monica, I saw a lot of opportunity in joining NID. I've been here for 12 years, and it has certainly given me opportunity to show what I can do and move forward and really be a part of it.
Hello, I'm Greg Jones. I'm the Assistant General Manager. I've really been getting into the Marvel comic movies lately with my little kids, 13 years old, twins, and so we've been having a lot of fun watching them doing movies. So those have been lately a lot of my good movies. And something about coming here, so I've been running around this Sierra Nevada for all my life, camping and enjoying the lakes and creeks and streams and forested lands. And it's been a real pleasure to see every time I would come down from the Tahoe area, down 20, you'd see the water going uphill, and that was always something that fascinated me. It was one of the 8 wonders of the world, right? And then later on, I got to work in at NID, which was fabulous. And then, of course, everybody and the people working here were so gracious, and so the staff then became really the impetus for everything that I've been doing here at the district, and then just learning about the system in general is just incredible. Everything that has come before us, and then everything that we're managing today, and then moving forward. So that's a little about me.
So I'm Laura Peters. I'm the Division 4 Director, and my favorite foods right now are peaches and watermelon. I love peaches and watermelon. And my favorite movie is Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? And so the favorite thing about NID, it's amazing, the infrastructure and the fact that this staff and group of people can keep it running and operating thick and thin, day in, day out for 100 years. It's a wonderful feat, and it's really a good thing. And that they can work together, as Pam said, work as a team and get it done. Why did you join? What brought me here, I've had a lifelong passion in water. Water is life, and I just firmly believe in having fresh, clean water and having reliable supplies and working infrastructure for all uses, all beneficial uses for the planet first. And so I've always felt that if we don't have, we're so blessed with the water to live in a water-rich environment, and so we should never lose sight of the preciousness of it.
Want to kick it off for your table?
I'm Lisa Price. I work in HR. Favorite food is probably all things chocolate. My most favorite things about working at the district, obviously I work in HR, so I'm going to say the awesome, hardworking employees that we have. I love interacting with all the different departments. Why I joined the organization, I grew up here and then moved away for a long time and then came back, and NID has always been a staple of the community and staple.
Hi, my name's Shannon Wood. I'm the Business Services Technician here at NID in the Engineering Department. My favorite food, I'm kind of a pizza and beer, baseball kind of person, so anything in that realm will make me happy. I started with NID 25 years ago, so back then it was kind of the top 3 places to work in Nevada County, and I was lucky enough to kind of fall into a job, and I have worked my way up, and I really enjoy being here. My favorite thing is being able to help someone on the outside. I still get feedback that we still answer the phone, we still return phone calls, they get a real person, and I enjoy helping people understand what they need to know on the inside.
Good afternoon, my name is Kean Summers, I'm the Director of Power Systems. My favorite food or movie, I've been doing this low carb thing here lately, so I would kill for a cinnamon roll with icing on the top, and that would just be amazing. Why did I choose to join the organization? I was a consulting engineer for a number of years and always felt too disconnected from the final product. We'd put these plans out there and they just go somewhere. Who knows what happened to them? So I really wanted the connection with the project when it was done.
Hi, I'm Ricky Heck. I am the Director for Division 1, which is largely Nevada City, Grass Valley area. My favorite food is chocolate, and my favorite movie is Bogart. Anything by Bogart. So if I get chocolate in my bogey movie, it's like, it's a dream. Why did I come to NID? I ran 4 years ago because I thought after I retired from my business career that my business skills would be helpful to NID, and I believe they were. Why am I running again? Because you know what, you all are so amazing. I can't imagine not having all of you in my life, you know. The staff, you know, the hardworking men and women are extraordinary, and I feel really blessed to have been able to be here on the inside for a while and do what I can as a director to support them. So that's it.
I'm Ken Kofer, Recreation Superintendent. I've been with the district 22 years. I started on the bottom, working on the canal system. Really enjoyed that. Worked on the service crew for many years. And when the opportunity came to work at Recreation, I jumped on it. That is where I go when I'm not at work. So I enjoy working up in the mountains, the lakes, and the rivers. Oh, Chinese food.
Mr. Ribble, would you like to go?
Sure. I'm Chris Ribble, Maintenance Superintendent. Favorite movie, probably anything Star Wars. Favorite food, Mexican. Came to work at the district because I got tired of traveling. I was working in the private sector and I traveled everywhere. And I really wanted to put some roots down here in the community I grew up in. And I really enjoy working with all the people here. And that's it.
Well, my name is Cindy Ware, and I work in the safety department. I'm one of two in the safety department. Let me start. So my favorite movie is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. My favorite food right now is cotton grapes. Cotton flavored grapes are my favorite. I love working at the district. I love my family here at the district. I love what I do every day because it's something new every single day. I never know what's going to happen. So my job is to help ensure that the employees are safe and doing what they do for you out in the field every day.
I'm Doug Roderick, Director of Engineering. I've been with the district about 18 years. Favorite food, mushrooms, anything mushrooms. You name it, sauteed, fried, on pizza, raw, they're all good. Favorite movie is Talladega Nights. That's for Ricky Bobby. Shake and bake. One of the favorite things I think about NID is the topography, which nobody's talked about, right? One day you may be doing a project down in the Thermalands or down in Lincoln area. Next day you may be up at Bowman or Jackson Meadows. So we span a huge area, which keeps things interesting. And that's the reason why I came here, is because there's treated water, there's raw water, there's hydropower, there's all those different projects we get to work on in all these different cool places.
I'm Chris Beerwagen, Director of Division 2. Favorite food is hot smoked tri-tip. I love to make that all the time. Favorite things about NID, I could go on about this one. Most of you guys have already. Water is life. If you're farming, water is really life. And if you're farming in Nevada County or Placer County, it really is important, and lived that my whole life. On top of that, I didn't choose to join NID, but it chose me. A long history of our family being involved, and I was tapped, you're next, and so, okay, how am I going to do this, right? But it turns out it's been a real joy to work. I'm a teamwork player, and this is a team that really works together. And when you see teamwork, when team works, then things happen, and that. I experience that every time I'm at NID, and I really appreciate that about all of you and the whole staff. But passion for water and hydropower are just right up there. I just love watching the water run everywhere. And anyway, looking forward to staying on the board.
Katie? My name is Katie. I'm an office assistant, and I work alongside the board secretary and GM and AGM, and also in Second Files, which is the large filing cabinet of NID. I can see a lot of historical documents and maps of the area that I grew up in, and that's a real treasure, to see how it's all developed. And I just feel really grateful that I was picked out of all the applicants to work with such a wonderful crew, and very honored to be a part of this community and watch. Oh, food, I would say barbecue and say barbecue. Nacho Libre is a good movie too. The fun one. Thank you.
Joanne.
Okay, I'm Joanne Phillips. I'm the management assistant in engineering. My favorite food is anything dark chocolate, ice cream, milkshakes, candy bars. I don't really have a favorite movie, but I do like to watch football games when they just have. And my favorite thing about NID is that I get to work with. Mostly, I learn something new every day, and hope to keep learning and getting to see more of the district. I guess that leaves me. All right. So, hi, camera. So I'm Chris Stepanian. I'm the board secretary. Let's see, my favorite food. I think right now I'm just really loving barbecue chicken breast, a little teriyaki. I'm kind of getting hungry again. My favorite movie, ironically, I was asked this when I interviewed for this position. That was kind of funny. Was The Wizard of Oz, and that's because my grandfather was on the soundtrack. He was a musician. So to me, it's very special, and it's just a great movie. Favorite things about NID, well, I grew up in Grass Valley, I was born here, and I went to Lyman Gilmore, so it's kind of a full circle thing for me. And growing up, you know, I moved away right away when I was 18, and I used to bring people up to visit, and they always comment on our water, how amazing our water was, and so I've always been very proud of our water here in Nevada County. And so, and raising cattle, growing up here, it's just always been a very important part of my family's life and the lives of everybody that knows our area. So I was very, very excited to join the team. And since I've been here, I just feel it's just opened up a whole other family for me. So I love the people I work with. I love what I do. I love taking care of our board and being a member of the team. So.
All right, so lots of interesting backgrounds, movies, and food. So for me, I'm Lakian. I am also on a low-carb cleanse, so my favorite food currently is celery. I don't really have a favorite movie. I did just go see the new Top Gun with my kids, and if you haven't seen it, it's super fun and amazing. But I do have a favorite baseball team, John, and it is definitely not the Dodgers. So, go Giants. Who here's Giants fan? I know there's lots of you. Yeah? All right. And so, you know, one of my favorite things about NID by far is we have one of the most talented team of staff that I have ever worked with, extremely competent, extremely complimentary to the board's direction, but also they're just really smart and really fun to work with. So I greatly appreciate all of them. I have worked with other management staffs before, and this staff definitely raises above all others that I've worked with. So a huge kudos to the staff. I think one of the big things that brought me to NID is in my previous life and working for the city of Lincoln. I originally started as a public works director. So that's where my heart really lies. I have a science background. I really like infrastructure. I really like providing utility service. And pair that with the most amazing water district, especially topography-wise, jurisdictional-wise in the whole state. You know, I think we have it going on. I think, as Doug said, the topography is absolutely amazing. And I by far think if there was a boat across the state, we would probably have the most beautiful district. So that was one of the big reasons why I came here. So we are going to tear into a little bit of talking a little bit leadership, a little bit high performance, and then we're going to get into our team building activities. So one of the reasons why I bring Mr. Pasner.
Can I bring up something from the last meeting that got skipped? The risk.
On the risk. So let's do that at the end of this meeting. Does that work for you? It's not a normal public comment right now.
Say no, Mike.
But we'll get back to
On the last meeting, why don't I get it out of the way now, and then it's over with for the last meeting, because I wasn't heard last.
Let's do it. Mr. Best.
Thank you. I'm Mike Basner, Indian Springs Organic Farm down in Penn Valley. Been farming with NID water for 36 years. I was on the Zoom with Rick, and then I called in on the phone,
for some reason could not open up the line, which is why I'm thinking finish this up, risk is over, move into the next part. Today we're discussing risk, but that was 2 weeks ago. Three original considerations are operational, regulatory, and environmental. NID's herbicide use in its 500-mile ditch system is a risk in all three categories. We must consider the legal responsibility to landowners. Just saying we are obeying the current law in this country isn't enough. In order to do something to protect its customers, NID must be proactive on its use of Roundup and the copper-based herbicides dumped directly into the water on 72 miles of ditches. Evolving science is changing the safety of glyphosate use. EPA found the findings were deeply flawed, and on June 17th, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has banned the use of glyphosate along with many other countries in the world. NID is taken to armor lining with rocks the ditches to control ditch widening. This method requires glyphosate to maintain these rock walls. I'm not sure that's going to be a very successful idea. Nutrient and Nautique, or copper-based aquatic herbicides, are used to reduce algae in ditches. These chemicals are known to be hazardous to people and animals, yet you continue to dump it directly into the waterways. Do this on a calendar basis, not just as needed, and notify customers with a written warning at the beginning of the irrigation season. This stuff can flat out kill sheep and gathers in the bodies of humans and livestock. The Rickmont study came up with no method for herbicide reduction. I think it cost $72,000, and was just window dressing to make it appear that NID was trying to reduce herbicide use. Before Rickmont was a Mingo Bob study on how to reduce herbicide use. In my opinion, this was also pretty much window dressing. It didn't come up with anything that was really going to work or had potential for even really working. It was not followed through on and was nearly entirely useless. As NID uses their terrestrial and aquatic herbicides on people's private property, they must make real attempts at limiting their use. Science is catching up with these chemicals and the risks they cause. What is your plan for herbicide reduction? Are you serious about it? These are tough questions, and now is a good time for the answer while we're planning. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Pasner. So we are going to head up now into the leadership component. So one of the things that is really important to any organization, whether it be a private business or a public entity, is focusing on developing what's referred to as a high-performance team. So often in private companies, you hear of these terms a lot, and in public companies, sometimes you do and sometimes you don't. It could be more of an afterthought. The benefits of having a high-performance team is that it increases efficiency, it increases customer service, it helps morale, it helps us accomplish our goals quicker and easier, and also the number one thing it does is it encourages innovation. So as a water district, we are about to embark on a time period that is going to be fraught with challenges related to climate change, regulations, trying to serve our customer base, and then also at the same time trying to be good stewards of the environment. As Mr. Pasner just referenced, there's a lot of challenges even just with pesticide use. So we have 475 miles of canal. And when those canals get clogged with vegetation, it stops the flow of water, it brings in noxious weeds, it causes algae growth. There's a lot of things that happen. So that is one of the other large challenges we are facing. And it is very likely on a statewide level, Roundup and those types of products will be banned at some time. So these are the types of challenges that NID deals with every day. So one of the things that I want to focus a little bit on, because we're going to draw this kind of theme through our strategic planning and hopefully incorporate it into our values, is kind of talking and doing a little bit of brainstorming about what is a high-performance team. So according to the book, The Wisdom of Teams, creating a high-performance organization. So a team is a small number of people with complementary skills who are committed in a common purpose, performance goals, and approach for which They hold themselves mutually accountable. So there's a couple of really important words in that sentence, right? One of them is complementary skills. So we think based off of the brief introductions, we do have a lot of unique niche areas of expertise with NID, and that's what makes our world go round. So for example, Tor, who introduced himself, he introduced himself as part of water operations, but he, in actuality, he's the brain of our water rights system and managing all of our reservoirs. And if you talk about moving water from the highest elevations at 8,000 feet to get water all the way down to thermalands and be in compliance with every law and regulation and ensure it also fits within our infrastructure, we can deliver the water, it takes a lot of brain power to do that. So we have a great skill set in Tor, so thank you, Tor, for keeping us at peace with our water rights, which also can come with some heavy regulatory challenges associated with them. The next kind of, I think, is a real important term is committed to a common purpose. So, and we'll talk about it a little bit later. NID did have a strategic plan that was officially adopted, when was it, 16th?
Yeah.
And then there was a new strategic planning process that was initiated in late 2019, and then actually stopped in 2020 due to COVID. One of the things, we don't really integrate strategic priorities or our mission and vision in what we are doing on a routine basis from an operational perspective. It's kind of hanging out there. So that's the benefit of this particular process, is to reinitiate this process, reintegrate, have buy-in, and really set who we are and where we want to go, and then the priorities that we're going to use to get there. And when we go through our strategic planning is very, very helpful when you're setting annual budgets, when the board is making large decisions on initiatives they would like to move forward with. It keeps the whole organization aligned and moving in the same direction, and it also will start to foster innovation. If we know where we want to go, then people will start thinking, how can we get there easier and faster? And then just lastly, high-performance teams are distinguished from other groups. This is a big thing I've learned in my career. So it is always extremely important to develop a good culture with staff and to have staff know that the board, as well as upper management, that they value staff and that they're there for staff and that staff works in a trusted environment where all ideas are welcome, because this is what differentiates a group of folks that do only what they're told versus a group of folks that do what needs to be done. And they're two very, very different categories of people. With the folks that do just what they're told to do, I'm walking by and see something wrong in the campground, but no one's around and I'm not gonna pick up the garbage and repaint the bear box. The person who does what needs to be done, notices it, buys in, understands that, we're trying to provide a customer experience, we're trying to be good stewards of our environment. And so we really want to start shifting our culture, and it is a lot there, but I think that we could do a better job in this leadership team of fostering that culture, of developing this high-performance team. Because if you get a group of people that do what needs to be done without only doing just what they're told to do, you get innovation, you reduce costs, you can reduce labor costs. So these are all really important to the long-term health of the organization. Next slide, Chris. So right now, we talked about this a little bit, so this is kind of what we consider the leadership team. There are a few people missing. I know Chip is beloved by everybody, and unfortunately, he is at home sick today. He did come in my office yesterday and said, ooh, you do look sick. So we all wish him well so he gets better and can join us next time. We did talk about, we have the department heads as well as kind of our mid-level management. There are some other folks that are missing, but we still had to keep the organization moving even though we're here today. Chris? All right, so we're going to do just a little bit of brainstorming, and so this is where I'm really going to be looking to you guys to wake up, just go get, you guys need cookies, there's cookies over there, chocolate, canned piece of celery, not celery, celery apple, there's fruit, and fruit. And, members of the public, so this is really a strategic planning effort that staff and the board are completing, but your input is absolutely welcome and wanted. And so you guys chime in as well. What we're gonna do right now is we're gonna start talking about what is a high-performance team, and then what are some of the outcomes? Like, why do we want a high-performance team? So I touched on a couple of them. What would be an outcome that an organization or a business would achieve or experience if the team was considered in that higher echelon of high performance?
Sustainability.
Yep. Thank you, Jeff. So what we're gonna do is, you had to, of course, say the one word that's the longest to spell right off the bat.
You did great.
Did I do it right? Okay. So we're gonna save this brainstorming exercise when we're all done, because this will then tier into our values when we get to them in a couple of meetings. Anyone else?
Innovation.
Innovation. Yeah, these are all outcomes of what happens when you're high performing.
Efficiency.
Efficiency. I like that one.
Achieving goals.
Mm-hmm.
Strategic intent.
I saw that one.
Cooperation.
Hold on.
Commitment.
Cooperation. Commitment is a great one. You know, and commitment's important for a couple of reasons, right? Staff commitment, you have loyalty, you have longer attainable staffing levels, you reduce staff turnover, and that directly reduces costs, but it also preserves the knowledge base that is so much ingrained into individuals. Anyone else?
Improve transparency.
Yep, improve transparency. This is a big one. So oftentimes people misunderstand one of the driving factors of why public agencies start becoming less transparent. I can tell you from working at, I worked for Caltrans, I've worked for the city of Lincoln, now I'm here at Nevada Irrigation District. One of the biggest driving factors of what starts reducing transparency is when staff they're not a high-performing organization, but also when the culture is off. So when the culture is off and staff doesn't feel that it's a trusted environment and they feel like they're going to bring something forward and be attacked or not be understood, or if something's wrong, they're going to get in trouble, people stop bringing things up to the top, right? They stop bringing things forward just because they're scared. And so this is one of the big things that goes away when you have a low-performing organization. It almost automatically becomes less transparent because information stops being shared. Yeah, you have two kinds of people, right? People are scared to share the bad news or scared to be wrong, or you have people that knowledge is power, so I'm going to hoard it. So this is a huge thing, especially for public agencies, that we should keep in our forefront.
This described imperative, so strategic imperative.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So let's go now, it's going to be kind of the flip side of this. What are some of the things that happen, and this will be quick because there's almost an inverse of a lot of those. What are some of the things that happen with low-performing teams?
I have one,
Yeah, low production is a big one. Why am I going to work hard? No one cares. We're all C students. You know, I get a C anyway.
Drop
so.
them around.
Yep.
They're what we're at.
Low production.
Slow down.
Lack of shared meaning.
Drop them around. Lack of shared meaning. Hold on, wait, I missed one over here. Absenteeism, right? There is a direct correlation to the number of sick days and workers' comp claims. When morale goes down and you start getting yourself in that low performance toilet, automatically start seeing people are not feeling well, they don't want to come to work, they get injured. It's just not a good environment, you know. You'll see a team that is low performing, working in a toxic environment, and people really will find excuses not to come to work because it makes them feel bad on a personal level, right? People want to feel good about what they do. They want to feel productive. They want to feel like they're valued and part of the team. And so all of those start to drop. And I'm never going to be able to spell absenteeism. Really? Right. No, I'm telling you.
I'm gonna give an attribute of high performance is trust and trust and respect.
Yeah.
And I think on the other side of this is not being trusted.
Yeah, lack of trust, and it goes both ways, right? It goes up and down, right? It goes up and down the food chain. And so, you know, lack of trust is huge. Employees need to know in order to become in that high-performing organization, and this is really hard for new managers to kind of they get a little bit balled up. Something's wrong, so-and-so did X, and they should have done Y, and now we have this mess, right? In a public agency the size of NID, I can promise you at any given second of any given day, there is something wrong in this agency. There's something broken. There is a customer that's upset, there's something we could be doing better, there is always room for improvement. And so when there's something wrong or somebody's upset, you know, we have 25,000 customers. The likelihood of at any second somebody not being upset with us about something is about 0%. And so because of that, we want staff to bring those issues forward before they become big wildfires, right? We want to deal with the issue when it's manageable, when we can deal with the customer without them being super upset. And staff members will only bring those items forward when they don't feel like they're going to get, you know, their hands slapped and be embarrassed. People don't want to do a bad job inherently. They don't want to be in trouble. And so you really have to foster that environment that says, yes, it's okay if you mess up. We're going to work together to fix that. Because I can tell you what I have been through, you know, managing a city is a whole different ballgame with this whole another set of fun things. Anything can be fixed. There is always something that's wrong. There is no problem that can't be addressed. It might be hard, it might be challenging, it might be a little bit painful, might get a public black eye over it, but yes, we can fix it. So that's where this lack of trust really comes in, because you want your employees to raise those issues up. You know, tell us what happened. We are here to help you. You're not going to get in trouble. Let me manage with you. Let me figure out a solution. And most of the time, they can solve their own problems. They just need to get past their initial fear of being in trouble. What other outcomes?
Unreliability.
That's a big one. It does, the system becomes very unreliable, right? Put all these things together, and it equals unreliability. People aren't always doing what they're expected to be doing. They don't know what they're expected to be doing, and people don't know what to expect from an NID. So that is a big one.
Hide the ball.
Hide the ball. I might need some explanation on that one. Or dropping the ball. No, they drop the ball, then they hide the ball.
Well, I don't want anybody to see what my problems are, and I'm gonna put them in my file cabinet, or, you know, I have a training issue, I'm not gonna talk about it.
They isolate.
Right, they isolate.
Here you're empowered, and here you have a lot of employees that are isolated.
You do. You get isolation very quick. People will start to isolate themselves because they are afraid. They're afraid they're going to get in trouble, and they hide the ball. I've actually had a pretty high-level manager do this to an extent that we all would have fallen out of our chairs, and it didn't come to light until there was some, you know, succession of manager changes, and it came to light. And it was as bad as hiding things under the desk mat, literally. So it's because there was lack of trust. There was breakdown, there was morale breakdown, silos formed, departments were at war, and so it became a huge issue that needed a very serious course correction. What about, no accountability, right? You start hiding the ball, then everybody's duck and covering, and nobody wants to be accountable. Blaming is a huge one. Blaming is just not productive, right? There is no productivity comes out of blaming. Accountability is different, right? Accountability is, okay, Monica, so we had this big situation. I know that you're capable of fixing it. We just worked through the solution. You laid out the plan. So my expectation is that it's resolved by, August 31st. I'm gonna check in with you in about a week or two to see how you're doing. But if you need any help, I'm here for you. So that's how accountability works, right? They need to know you're there for them. So we had a lack of accountability. What was the other one? Blaming. It must be Tor. We got curtailed and it's Tor's fault, right? It's not helpful. It's not solution oriented. And it's very similar to, I have 3 kids, as most of you know. It's very similar to children, right? Your very quick snap thing is to kind of stop, yell, don't do that. But it actually doesn't stop them from doing it again. If you need to have a conversation, kids, just as adults, we like structure, we like to be respected, and kids like to be held accountable. They feel good when they do something that you set a goal for them and they do it. So, I definitely think the blaming is a very toxic trait of low-performing teams, and it just doesn't serve a purpose. Makes everybody feel bad, and usually makes the person doing it probably feel bad when they go home, and it didn't accomplish anything. Anyone else? I didn't hear you, Diana. Wasted resources is a great one.
Short-sighted planning.
Yes, yeah, that is a good one. Short-sighted planning, right? You're a low-performing team, you're in silos, you're not comfortable bringing forth problems. So what do you start to do? Your planning starts to be more of, I'm gonna cover my butt planning, right? I don't wanna have a stretch goal. I don't wanna set, an objective that is amazing, but maybe really challenging, because if I don't make it, I'm gonna be frowned upon and looked upon poorly. And so I agree. I think that is a really good one. What was the exact word?
Short-sighted. Reactionary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I said silos a number of times. Reactionary and silos. So, part of what we do when you manage large infrastructure, we do, kind of call it putting fires out all the time, right? Main line blows up, campground, whatever happens, toilet clogs, campers mad, whatever's going on. Those are good things to be reactionary to, right? You react to them, but we generally have processes and procedures in place to know how to respond to those. So although the incident is in that reactionary category, the response isn't necessarily reactionary. Sometimes it is, but that's where we rely back on our expertise, our teamwork, our leadership to pull together those solutions.
The reactionary was more in line with the short-sighted planning. If you don't have a good plan, and you haven't looked holistically at all of your options and what the true situation really is, have all this list of projects you're gonna do, but then all of these emergencies come up that you never get to your project. So your projects last years and years and years, and they never get done because all you're doing is the emergency.
Fires, yeah.
Yeah, and that happens a lot. So it feeds into short-sighted planning. It takes staff off of things they should be doing. And one of the best things about strategic planning that helps us is having a well-established set of strategic priorities that the board and the staff agree on. Because it happens in every public agency and probably in most private businesses. We should look into A, and the board finds it interesting, and maybe we should spend some time on it. Well, it takes us collectively to hold ourselves accountable, right? That accountability goes both ways. So my job in that situation is to say, that is a great idea. we should probably just put on the list, unless we can bring the list out of our current initiatives that we're working on and maybe bump one. You know, there is such a thing as limited bandwidth. Staff can carry really heavy workloads, but when you start getting spread way too thin with real heavy, large initiatives, things start to fall behind, and they start to get delayed, and it feeds into short-sighted planning, and, you know, it just becomes a circle. So is there anything big we're missing?
Finance.
Finance, it's a huge one. Everyone knows I am the penny pincher of the district, and so this one's really important to me, right? High-performing organizations, you can get, if you invest in your employees, if you care for your employees, you can reduce your labor costs and even pay the people you have more money because they do more work, they're more dedicated, and remember the kind of people that we want. We want people that will do what needs to be done, not just what we tell them to do. And that really moves the bottom line. You know, I can tell you some stories. When I was in Lincoln, and the same thing here, I know some more particular stories because I was actually public works director at the time. In the fleet department, we have these amazing welders. These are the guys who go out and find car parts on the side of the road and then make an actual car out of them. So they are very high caliber fleet people. With their innovation and just doing whatever needed to be done and their dedication to the organization, they could easily save us $250,000, $300,000 a year off of one project by making a modification to a garbage truck, by making modifications to fire trucks that you couldn't buy aftermarket. And so this is really important. Innovation can reduce fiscal impacts, right? It can help you with finance. Innovation, not working in silos, people working as teams, having a good culture, low employee turnover. Employee turnover is a killer to the bottom line. Every time you have to recruit, it is an investment you have to put into that employee, and it really does matter.
So, you don't know my name yet.
I don't. Can
You're
you share
probably
it with me,
lucky.
please?
Hi, Chris.
This is Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Tara.
Hi, Tara.
Hi, Tara. I know of you.
No. My question is, are you wanting this group of people to do more of A and less of B? Because every single person in this room said, everybody in this place is awesome. They're all doing an awesome job. So what I'm trying to understand is, what are you hoping to do by making list A and list B?
So that is a great question. So it is a very important observation she made. Everybody here, for the most part, I think almost everybody, they did compliment the staff. So as far as becoming a high-performing team, we're pretty darn close, right? We still have some extra work to do, but we have the first step taken. We have largely a committed staff. We have very intelligent people on the staff. They are very competent and very dedicated. So getting into that really high level of high performance is not going to be overly difficult for organization if we are committed to it, if we believe in it, if we have sound strategic positioning, if we all have a common understanding of our mission and vision. I think that NID could actually become one of the highest performing teams in the water industry. And so that's why we're here today, to start laying that groundwork, to start drawing it through our strategic planning, to start drawing it into the strategic priorities, to start drawing it into our relationships, right? You know, people with a solid relationship, it's always one thing to say, oh, we get along great. But you know what? People who actually get along great, they work on it. It's not a one and done deal. It's not a proclamation that we're great and we're done, right? It's a constant communication. It's constantly adjusting. It's having empathy and knowing what empathy is. It's having emotional intelligence and changing your message or listening to the other person and explaining it in a different way. Those are skills and things that don't come naturally to most of us, and it's something we always have to work on. So, Tara, I appreciate your question because I think it's an important one.
Would you also include financial structure instead of just finance?
It's just finance. So for me, I just drew the dollar sign, but that is also a good one.
Financial structure, because it's a basic.
Maybe it's just sound.
Financial structures, and we'll add the word sound. I agree.
But not on that one, sound would be over on this one. Sound financial structure, this is,
Oh,
these are
okay,
actually
okay.
bad.
This is bad, all right. Now I'm getting my bad financial structure.
Undefined, or not open, not defined or hidden or.
Yeah, I agree, and that's one of the large initiatives that we're taking on at NID right now, is setting up a very sound financial structure, increases transparency. It provides tools to our management staff so they can better manage their projects and know what's going on with their department budgets. It helps the public understand what we're spending money on. You know, the public, a lot of times, there is a perception with the public that there's something going on at an agency. I can tell you every agency I've worked at, there usually is not something nefarious going on. The transparency issues or lack of financial structure, they go back to this low-performing organization. And it's not nobody wants to be a low-performing organization. It's something that evolves over time. And to become a high-performing team, we have to think about it. And so we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna draw these concepts through into our values and hopefully through the rest of our conversation. Next slide, Chris. Oh, come on. We're broke. She doesn't. That's okay. There. Okay. All right, we did our brainstorming. All right, so, and this is one thing that it'll make a little bit more sense with Tara once we talk about it a little bit. So effective performance of teams in my opinion, and I do get annoying about this, nothing is ever perfect, right? There's always going to be room for improvement. You could always do better. I don't care how well oiled you are. And so in order to really move that whole high-performance bars, there's really 3 focus areas. Quality of renewal, and that's kind of a weird term, but basically it's your ability to expand and adapt to change. And like I said earlier, we are in the forefront of major change coming with climate change, regulations, technology. There's a lot of exciting opportunities, but there's also a lot of challenges ahead, and we have to be able to adopt to that and adapt. So, you know, encouraging personnel development, invest in your staff. That is a huge one. We have to continuously invest in our staff. Use insight knowledge from outside districts. You know, I am an information junkie, and I have no shame in my question game. I will call anybody anywhere if I don't know something, because somebody has already done it, and they're probably doing it better, or they've already made the mistakes. And so going outside your agency, talking to people, understanding what they're doing, absorbing their knowledge, providing mentoring and coaching. I think it speaks for itself, but, you know, that needs to go all the way up and down the chain. You know, if you make investments in the frontline staff right now, those are your future department heads. So it's extremely important. Identify those people, believe in them, and invest in them. Quality direction, right? This is aligning priorities. That's what we're here for today. Focusing strategically on goals and direction. That's a huge one. Developing talent, right? So we know one of our biggest challenges is going to be related to technology moving forward. There is going to be many tools that are going to make NID more efficient from a technology perspective, but we really are going to have to develop talent to do that. You know, we need the new talent. We need to believe and invest in our new employees. And then quality of interaction. Encouraging critical thought through effective dialogue and capitalizing on diversity. And then ultimately, right, we're going to incorporate effective team performance factors into our strategic plan thinking. That's why we did this first, so we can carry this through our thinking. Really, we need to focus on all 3 of those factors. We really need to make sure we can adapt. We're investing on our staff, expanding our knowledge base. I think this is really the first step in the strategic planning process. Does anybody have anything to add before we move on to the super fun team building exercise? All right. Does anybody need a little short break before we do team building? You need a lot of brain power. You might need a cookie. There will be a winner out of this one. A little break, 5 minutes. 5-minute break.
Our team is going to win, right?
Yes, we are. Yeah, I'm a winner.
You're a winner.
Right, Mike? All right, I'm muted.
That's not very high performing, is it?
That is low, we are low performing schedule-wise right now. We all knew that was gonna happen, we're gonna take a long ass meeting. It's just tiny salary. All right, once we kinda get everybody. Yeah, you put it back up. All right, so we are gonna do a team building exercise. It is designed for staff and the board members, but the good news is we have room for the members of the public to participate if you'd like. So, if you'd like to participate, it's gonna be super fun, very competitive, very team building. Pick your table now, because you can't jump teams. Come here, Trevor. If you're gonna play, get up there.
My wife says I'm ultra competitive.
I don't lose. I'm a board game master. My son started playing chess, so I can still beat him. Well, I played 10 games with him so far. They don't have to play if they don't want to. They can just watch. It's all up to you. You can play or not. Hey, they need you. Tracy, they need you. They need competitiveness. Yeah.
Lego challenge.
Leader. All right. So, if anyone in the public who's going to participate at a table, Jeremy, you're in?
I'm in.
He's now,
Right
Jeremy's
on.
background is gonna be good for this challenge.
I got no one.
Just saying. That is a sign of a low performing organization.
I know, wait a minute,
right?
you both performers over there better let me.
You have everyone.
You cannot go and then move your team out. Okay, so this team, you need to be creative.
Trevor, that's Trevor.
You need to have good innovation skills. An understanding of building might be helpful.
Yeah, we got that covered.
Having an understanding of NID trivia might put you ahead of your competitors.
All right.
I knew you would. All right, so this is how this works. This is
I don't know what to do with you.
This is referred to as the Lego Challenge. So, but there's rules, it's not super easy. I don't like rules. So there is a bucket of Legos up here, there's 5 of them. Each table gets 1 bucket. In each bucket, there is a category of what you have to build. You can build anything that complies with the category, anything you want. In this envelope, you then have to, each member of your team has to draw out 1 game rule that they are going to require your team to follow.
This is very complex.
See? Let me read you a rule. All right.
It is, it's gonna be
I
great.
need glasses.
You can only use your right hand.
Yes. You are the only one allowed to put bricks together in the first 3 layers of the building. So this is the deal though. You can't tell anybody what your rule is. And you can't use any of the major words. You can say the word the or to, but you can't tell anybody what your rule is. So you have to get your team to abide by your rules in your building without telling them directly what it is, without showing them what it is. Hey, high-performing teams have good attitude.
We're doing good over here, don't
We
worry.
have good attitude.
Are we gonna do this?
We're going down. And then, the kicker is that I have super special Lego parts in this bin. And you can, at any time, send a team member up to me to answer a NID trivia question. You get 1 shot. If you get the trivia question correct, you can pick something out of the special bucket. And child who was helping me put this together last night. His name's Lincoln. He's awesome. The panther might help some of you.
Get mine.
One item, but if you don't get your trivia question right, you go back to your table, you can send up someone else. Jeff?
Is there a specified amount of time that's gonna be allotted for this?
This is gonna be 30 minutes time.
Good night.
Oh, my goodness.
All right.
Tara's gonna leave us.
We don't get to read.
We're gonna lose him.
I already got lost.
All the questions are, no, there's 12 different questions in the envelope, so you have to make, yeah, each person at your table, in your team has to pick.
You guys are going down. Going down.
So,
I thought
you guys, Jeff, Diana, you might wanna participate if you don't wanna just sit there.
You guys can make your own team. How's that?
I don't have enough Legos.
Only 5 buckets.
Oh, there's only 5 buckets. Oh.
I only have
You're
5
breaking the
buckets,
rules.
but you are more than
We have
welcome to
room.
pull on the table.
We have room.
I appreciate the invitation.
You only know what the cumulative questions are.
In there are each of our specific rules.
Yeah, your assignment. Consider this like an assignment. You have this, each person at your table has to draw one assignment.
All right. Oh, my crap.
Also, at your table
We're gonna get along.
is a list of questions we're gonna talk about afterwards. All right.
Okay, so what's the closest?
She was.
All right, so, we're gonna start this off, well, we can, what do you think, 25 minutes? Can you build a masterpiece in 25 minutes?
Yes, we
I'm
can.
gonna check in with you guys in 20, if you're
I'm
doing your
Jeremy,
position in early.
Jeremy Minot from Super Tuber Farm and then
So
South
the
Platte
first,
Farm.
the very first thing you're gonna have to do is send somebody up to come
Get our
collect the box. So, oh, wait a second.
Cameron.
On your mark, get set, go.
Go.
Pass out a rule.
It's been a few years.
It's been a lot of years.
You know.
Have Legos.
Hydropower. Oh, well.
Okay, hydropower, we've got someone in.
Maybe, sure. Right, yeah, I think so, yeah. Put our building tile in there.
And then we each pick a.
Hey, you can't. I make no promises. You can only trade a whole lot. You can't borrow. You can trade an entire bid. So we're thinking of everything.
Yeah, I think you can tell which has the 6-year-old has the blue, right? And you have to follow it. That's your individual.
It's to your benefit to talk to the trivia bucket. There might be something that can help you. Let's figure out what's going on.
Okay, there you go.
Would you, yes.
I think it's also more than one. So there's actually.
I want to pick and choose.
The idea was that we just.
Is there an actual term? What? Can't recover from myself. I'm actually really bad at teams.
Yes.
Don't want you to.
I'm really good at it, but.
Have to.
I think you all.
Because we're supposed to have a couple more people. Right?
What is that?
So we gotta get.
Hey, one person got the trivia question.
There we go, we have one rule.
10 more people that got the same question.
More parts. Yeah, we got 4 people.
Specific rider power.
Any of the above, you know?
Giving guidance.
But I'm supposed to give guidance.
What are we going from?
Here?
Okay.
Yeah, so,
There's 4 portions.
We're looking at what parking lots we have here.
Looking at what we have. So, that's part of it.
Now it's doing.
But it's very symmetrical.
So it doesn't look like.
Straight.
Sure.
And I'll let you know if you're doing it wrong.
Just to let you know.
I would say base everything on top of it.
I like that. Coming through. Find some people. Yeah, do you want?
She's ready. Go, let's do it. Susan, don't fail us.
That's right. Just these guys. Yeah, it's something else.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
We're on button time.
My concern is that
Okay, sounds good. What one might call second layer?
There you go, thank you. I can't say that, but you.
Did you make it?
Do you realize? I think I can go. How do people feel about? This is the stock coming down into a thing into a.
If you run the book.
Number of bricks.
You guys are doing a really good job, I just want to tell you. I really support you guys.
Okay.
Eight, 1 and 9 measurement. Oh, more than 9. I'm thinking holes.
How's this number of bricks later? We gotta go 3 holes.
We can make this our wall. Is that what you said?
I guess we have a position. Layer 2. Have 8 bricks in it.
The rugged, but the boat house should.
I'd like to go to the next layer.
Like that, like this.
And then, not to go like the top of your, but just going over.
Yeah. I love people in this family, and I'm like, it's still like local. Oh, it's in a plastic chip.
Oh, he's kidding.
So, that's what I did about the gray box, you can connect. No, they shouldn't do that.
Okay.
Like this, here's our bus.
Gray box, how about, are you burn out? Do I have to use it? Do we think I need to use all these bricks or just?
Comes to some.
Trying to, trying to solve the components.
I don't know. I know I was in trouble.
I
know.
Again,
Oh, here's just a complimentary roll?
Tiny little colors, take a while.
That would be.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Sorry, part of the.
We're just making it.
I'm trying.
Yeah, you might count the track and former, I'm just,
Are we the one that we want to use?
color close enough?
We'll build the house.
From Hydro.
These all need to be stacked up, right? Yeah.
I'm just observing. I'm observing. Oh, my
Oh, we're out.
You're out.
Really good on my rule.
I roll. I need to understand what
I was there.
We got a pen stock, and now we're working on a mount. To be a row or a layer.
Yeah, we got
a brown one.
Good, okay. I don't feel strong enough higher.
All right, you're at 10 minutes.
But like another wall. Maybe just one wall for a maintenance job. You're right.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't.
Trying to figure out how to type it. Trying to get it.
My rule is.
Chris is being a no-no.
Any other questions? Like a free wall. What do you got to trade?
Anybody wants to start?
I can let trades happen. You guys look like you need some help.
You need red. Shall I go ask for a trivia question? Oh, exchange.
I'll bring you more. Thank you so much.
Oh,
yay. And this one's
Okay. I don't know, I'm coming to a trivia question.
This way's a lot of fun. This way. There you go.
We're going all one color?
You're distracting us, John.
You look for two white strips.
I'm a leader. I don't know. Oh, yeah, we'll need that. We're looking at
We already got it for
What do we need? So we're not, what do we don't have? I think we did our, did we fulfill our yellow bill? Okay. At the bottom of it? So what color?
But when you get to it before,
At our pipe,
Yeah.
water.
Yeah.
Oh, I got
Yeah,
the
so
blue.
connect.
There you go. That was
Should I go try a trivia? Can this work?
And then.
And then we can build a What creek flows into Bowman Lake? Do you know it?
Yeah, both, two.
All right, you got that.
That's the one.
Synthetic text there. That guy knows.
That'd be something that turns the committee.
With in the hydrodynamic.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
There's a corner, but that's not the right way.
And that guy works?
I'm not in charge.
You want it?
How about this? I know, I think.
I think I'm losing control of my game.
I think you're.
You're trying to get it like that, right? Oh, there we go.
Hey, bro, hi.
One more, no, but that guy. What about that guy?
High performer.
Boom.
Right?
Right, but that's.
Maybe a roof that'll take work in
Okay.
Where's the water? Where's that going?
Can you put that in there for me?
Oh, it needs another angle.
What category did you enter? We're raw water. Have you guys gone to the trivia? Twice. No, I think it's looking good, it's looking good.
Tonight, Laura, work on this side, and you.
Not very positive. I'm super positive. So we get it so high. Look where else thinking. I'm becoming a low performer. You're sabotage your own team member.
Was that a rule? I think it was. I need to go a little taller. I'm suggesting that total are the ones that
You guys, you need.
No, am I that?
Yeah, no, everybody's helping.
You didn't abandon your, you did fine. You're talkative.
Yeah, right.
So how about this platform?
I just threw anything that looked like parts.
Who has recreation? Just we have maintenance.
You are all uniquely qualified.
Native Green Water, do you guys have recreation? No, raw water. I'm so confused. I mean, okay, you guys, oh, that's you? You like that water? No way.
Here, what we got this.
Very good.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that's what you meant. Let's see. Oh, but hey,
Yeah, I
look at this thing. What's this?
Okay, so for the last 10 minutes, everyone listen, this is a special surprise for you. For the last 10 minutes, you do not have to follow your individual rules anymore.
Don't worry.
This table's cheating.
No way.
That blue thing, whatever that was, so we can fit a hole in the hazard.
We're almost there.
So we are really close. Oh, it does. Can we pull it apart? Yeah, what did you have on? It's just this.
Where's our other half of the pin stop?
We used it over here.
Oh.
No, but I think we're good.
We're connected.
So,
Does that connect?
round thing, right? If I could get it up here.
Sit up there. So you have need a long tower. Yeah.
How do we get this in?
All right.
There's the water.
Great.
I made it, I put a top on it.
I'm stretching too far.
We need a.
Yeah, they don't. It's just out of the point.
Yeah, we need a little support there. That's the history.
You didn't read that?
I did, I remember.
Now, turn the turbine.
Oh, really?
I know.
Did you take the tree out of behind? Did you go on? So it's trying to fall.
I wrote that too.
Oh, my God.
You can't go back over your question, Pete. It's either that or a panther.
Yeah, go do it.
I know that. Oh, you know, we may have to make a base for it.
Close up, here's our transformer, right?
Okay.
Run our bus.
Where's the base? You gotta make a base. Create a base.
Yeah, it's just a middle down.
All we need is a small.
Do it. Really, right here. Maybe.
There's it.
Don't put him in the sky.
These Legos aren't all compatible.
That is correct.
Oh, just one.
We have.
Compatible.
I made it. Yeah, when you moved it up.
Here we go. So now let's see if we can go like this.
Oh, a cylinder.
Where are we? We got the penstock, the turbine. We need to connect.
got one.
I don't, has to be around, yeah, I mean, there are a lot of reasons, and a lot of them are,
Go ask another.
It's raw water.
Oh, all right. Oh, I like a tire.
Measuring station.
off of nicotine, which is an organic. So just because something is organic doesn't mean it's safe, but.
I don't know which one.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, not many, but there are, not many oils or rock, meaning insect, down. So, you just, isn't that difficult. You have to use it, you use it. And, but when we do, like,
builders of
we may find balance just yet. Okay, there's, I don't know what their situation is. Yeah, you can do physical, like covering with, a fabric, they make ag fabric, breathable, they don't achieve good rest. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know specifically how people are themselves, whether it's.
Okay, here's your vegetation on right? Yeah. We got a little, all right, I gotta check the time.
Did you get it out?
Yeah.
Look at where'd it go?
I mean, for the most part, right?
Used it before.
That is rad.
Okay, so what's it? We've got.
Oh, no, we lost the
Generator, which is gonna go in. Yeah, leading by example.
Look at that.
Now, don't get it out here. How do we get it out to the power?
We got some good
So we have a workstation.
We have a hood that.
We have a palm tree.
Your trivia skill.
You're the right
I don't know. Come on.
On our boat.
What's the date? Apologize if there's any German Shepherd hair found in here. This hair has no boundaries.
It's like, your vehicle breaks down and you.
All right, how are we looking? You guys have about 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Are you done? We have a team that's done. Do you have a guy? Do you have an extra guy? A what? I'll get him from your feet. I think it's a cat. Oh, yes. Yes, thank you. Yes. Okay.
It's gonna look a lot better than that. Well, maybe not. True.
How can we get some?
There's that weird,
Yep. Stealing wheel.
Hand washing station, use it.
Check the water up. But you know how much velocity.
I get that.
Cool, good. Did you answer the question correctly? Somewhere.
They're building this thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Hang on, I can flip it over.
You got everything upside down. Karen just wanted to.
I know engineering boring. Well, we were boring when it
Oh, boy.
Ours is all water.
Yeah, Chris's family is.
Right, yeah, that is true.
3 minutes.
All right. Oh, it's getting bigger.
Bill, did you go through the questions? The questions, oh, walk your team through the questions. How
How's the power on?
Our shell. And this is leader. Still right here?
Yeah. I also.
Yeah.
About stealing well? Dr.
Oh, nice.
Those power lines.
Solar panels here somewhere?
That is a better one.
And then the big one.
Well, hey, you should be there, this is super fun. Yeah. I think that looks
pretty darn
Yeah.
It's a layer of concrete. Layer of concrete.
Just keep everything in this, this is when it's bypassed.
Start swimming pool with our guys.
Poor guy.
What's your wireless?
What's your IT wireless connection?
Since you're the leader, the fact that this was done.
What happened during the test?
Second. Power of this group.
Take outside the box.
Yes,
All right. Finish. Nice job, everybody. Really great.
Pretty nice.
Is this your
Power half of a house.
or nothing. Tiny house. Nothing compared to the book.
Outside water.
I like it. Yeah, this is all these guys. Yep.
Ready for a beer.
All right, put your Legos down. Go back to your team.
Good job, Ian.
Go back to your team.
All right. So we are gonna just do a little bit of a deep dive on everything, but the first thing I want everyone to do is, let's start with Cindy.
Let's start with me.
Hold up your creation. If it falls apart, you're automatically, disqualified.
Do I say what our title,
So, can anybody guess what their category was? The categories were raw water, treated water, hydropower, recreation, and maintenance.
Oh, raw water.
Raw
Water, what is it? Does
I think
anyone
it's
know what it
treated
is?
water.
Raw water.
Treated water.
Oh,
I think
show
it
the
was-
camera.
where we at? Where's
Bring it
camera?
home to Sam.
Oh.
Hydro.
Go.
I'm gonna say treatment.
Hydro.
Water treatment. Water treatment.
Rec.
Rec. All right, what is it?
Come on, you know what it is.
I know
this
it
would
is.
be raw water, well, I'm gonna drop it.
Yeah, raw water.
Anybody wanna guess? Keep going. This is water filling, or.
It's a spillway. It's a spillway. Yes.
What? No, it's not. Okay. What is it?
The measuring weir
Oh,
with a filling well and a solar panel.
it's that too.
Oh, nice. Nice.
It's down, oh yes, it's got.
Okay, so I have a couple questions for team raw water. So, did a leader emerge from your group?
Yes.
Immediately.
Immediately.
No, actually, she was a cheerleader.
All right, what were some of the other roles that emerged?
Engineer.
Engineer, all right, it's always nice to have engineer.
We got verbal, communication going and established. Joanne would slap our hands.
Yeah. We
Try to
slapped
put
each
something
other
on the
there.
table.
She'd slap you. How was there a difference between when you could tell them what your rule was versus when you could not?
I think they figured it out, because you read.
Every
Uh,
time we try to put something down, she would slap our hands.
That's a good way, because Joanne's rule was, you were the only one who could put a Lego down. Yep. Here's a good one,
Oh, I didn't know that. I just put it down.
All right, we're gonna move to team treated water. Show off, oops, I gave it away, your treated water. Can anyone guess what this is?
I'm sure you would recognize this. Swimming pool, and it's a high dive. So they make this back move. Yes. We have, I wanna highlight the features. We have an outdoor shower with an alien. We have the, swimming pool, which you can walk up to and high dive, break your neck. We've got, solar panels on the top. We've got our,
The meter box.
oh, this is the new
Water.
holding
tank,
yeah. Yeah, holding tank.
Is that real grass?
Oh, no.
It's
No.
our rainwater reclamation.
This is AstroTurf. That's right. AstroTurf, yes. Down with the lawn. Yep, and, any other high features? We've got the, our fan going.
Yeah, that's the new Starlink that gets put up this year.
Yes, and one of those old-fashioned wheels like they have up there out here.
Hilton wheel.
I like it, All right, so how does this remind you of trying to find solutions in your everyday job?
So using those rules, you had to attack it as like a collaborative effort, so you couldn't tell what your rule was, but you had to draw that information out by suggestions or building a team consensus to get what you needed out of each individual rule.
Did you do this in Lincoln? Is he cheating?
No, I did not.
Just checking. Okay.
I've been sick that day.
All right. What skill sets helped your team?
We had to take charge, and she just jumped right to it.
Leader.
Yeah, and then
Leadership?
the whole team collaborated
Master.
very well.
I like it.
We had a knowledge. Structural. We had goals, we got buy-in, and we executed.
I like it. So we had knowledge with, you guys did very well with the trivia. I think so. Coordinated. The leader knew the skill set was from trivia. All right, let's see. We are team, what were we? We're team maintenance. Team maintenance, tell us about your thing. What is this? Can anyone guess?
You got the pool, pants.
A panther house? That is our mascot.
Oh.
So this is our little maintenance shop. We've got a car in here. Yeah, fleet, yeah. We've got some tools. We've got a water faucet so we can wash our hands. We've got a computer, barbecue for after work. We can have a barbecue. We don't do eyewash system. We've got some things in here. We've got the chain.
I like it. So what, did a leader emerge in your group? No leader. You're just free for all.
There was a boss.
There's a boss. The boss is in the low performance. Leaders.
But we formed a team, you know, to this quick, so we formed, we stormed, then we normed, and then we started performing, and it took us a while.
I love it. Form, norm.
And I was guidance, that's what I was.
Guidance. Can put the benchmark.
Exactly, yeah.
The guardrails on.
Exactly.
Guardrails. So was it difficult when you couldn't tell your teammates what your rule was?
Yes.
We all
No,
just
it was,
accepted each other for who we were.
No,
We were accepting of who we are. That's a big one, right?
But we learn how to communicate too.
The rules.
To communicate the rules.
whoever has to start, has to go next.
Yeah, so you broke it down quickly. All right. All right, so we are Team Hydropower. Would you guys like to present your item?
Only one that knows.
Tina knows all the pieces.
All right, everyone pay attention to Team Hydropower.
Tina knows all the
Careful.
pieces.
I know, it can't fall apart.
It's a
We
little
have our
delicate.
water supply and our forebay to our penstock and our turbine, right? It even spins. To our generator, the bus to the transformer, and our switchyard apparatus, to the line. And we even have an antenna that goes out to the CAISO to feed generation. How do you like that?
All right, so what roles did your team members take on?
Chaos.
That is on the low performing board, Cameron.
We just all worked together and figured out what needed to be done, and we said, okay, well, you look for that, and we'll look for that, and we tried to sort it all through our pieces and pull them all together and put it together.
Divide and conquer. How did it feel between being able to tell what your rules were versus not?
Figured it out after a little bit, had to just sort of, we each, I think, gave
You
one
should put that
small idea of what the rule might be, without telling exactly what it is, and then we had an idea, but that was about it.
Did every table have the same rules?
Yes,
Okay.
but there was 12 rules, so not all rules were consistent amongst the table.
Yeah.
So this is a little different, a little challenge. Do you see that some of the skills that you use in this quick team building would be helpful? Do you use them in your daily work life? Or what would those be?
I mean, you work with the resources that you have, you know, here's the part, here's,
Yeah.
how do we make this work?
And we have limited resources, we definitely have a supply chain issue.
Limited resources, limited time.
We
Limited time?
had to divide, and we did divide a section and a section, so two and two for a little bit, and we had to come together and make sure that they were fit.
We found it wasn't that challenging, so we decided to do ours upside down.
I like it, that's a high-performing board right there. We go above and beyond. Hands on, I like it.
Make it harder than it should.
We got Team Hydropower on the high-performing board. All right, recreation.
All right.
saving the best for last.
Okay, Shannon, you wanna present? Oh.
Great for our technology.
Oh, good. Technology. This is our, and it's, we have,
Oh, my goodness.
we have a jet boat engine, highly technical
See that, Monica?
boat with safety shields and
Yes.
safety.
Yeah?
And, we have a zip line from the top down to the bottom, and safety, you're gonna get eaten by the alligator at the
There's a
bottom.
harness.
It discourages zip lining.
But have fun.
Yeah, we have video.
And we do have security cameras.
Security camera, I like it.
A little bit of foliage around our boat.
So did one or more than one strong leader come out?
Yeah.
Your group? More than one? One. Multiple.
That's pretty collaborative, yeah.
I think it was actually,
We didn't have one definitive.
Once we got
Not
past the
one.
OCD part of it.
Yeah, it's the OCD guy.
Surprised to hear that.
How did you feel once you didn't have to stick to your rule anymore?
Oh, we love.
Free.
We actually made a lot more progress after the rules went out the window.
Out the window.
We were very confined and we weren't getting very far, and then once we were allowed to be more creative, then that's when we actually got something done.
Yeah, the creativity really was flowing once the rules
Which
were
is,
out the window.
why do you think it was restrictive?
Well, one of the rules was like, only red peas on the second layer, and we start out with 0 red
We
peas.
had 0 red peas.
That's
But
pretty
we were
typical.
resourceful.
And we did trade.
That's, I like it. I was wondering if somebody would go into the trade market.
Yeah, we did. We did the trade.
Thank you, guys.
You did have
See
a
that?
hydro helps rec.
We have-
All right, so, the big messaging from this exercise is, I know it's a little bit silly and a little bit of fun, but it really is about collaboration, right, and communication and pulling together your skill sets, and all of us have different skill sets, and many of them are complementary to each other. And so as a leader at NID, you really have to recognize when, you don't want to silo yourself, right? Because somebody else's skill set could be complementary to yours, and it just makes both of your performance and just better and increases efficiencies. And so, the goal of this was to, of course, have a little bit of fun, but it was also to highlight how collaboration is very important to a high-performing entity, but also communication, right? So when your hands are strapped with communication, or it's not flowing, information's not flowing frequently, it makes it really hard. But as some of the groups said, they figured a way around it, right? They figured out how to communicate even with barriers up. So that's something we need to continue to strive to do to be a high-performing organization. Does anyone have anything to add? We're gonna clean up the Legos, and then we're gonna take a little short break and then go on to our next item.
Wait,
who's the winner? Oh, yeah, who wants to pick the winner?
Me,
All right, you're on a team. Katie gets to pick a winner.
Well, does your son want to keep the structure?
Oh, yeah, my son really wanted to see your structure. Let's take the structure in the box.
They're on the video.
Yeah, all you have to do is just set it in the box, you'll be fine.
Not ours.
It's okay, it's okay.
been decommissioned.
He wanted to, I quote, see how good you guys were.
License expired, and so we killed him.
Yeah, you first like non-transferable, private community.
No.
I don't know what they're doing.
Right?
Direction on how that.
Oh, my gosh.
You know what, we didn't pick, we're all winners.
Now I have.
Yeah, we're all winners. That's the way of the world these days. We're all winners.
Cut it out.
All take the power over there. I think he won. Everybody gets a star.
When it comes, I'm like,
Everybody true?
Is it like, what is, it was the best.
That's it.
Yeah, it was the
I know, the alligator and the zip line.
These are the pieces that we had.
Does anybody need a brief snack?
My favorite movie is Doctor Strange.
Okay, Doris, get a brief snack. I'm gonna.
Yeah,
No, we're still opening it.
All right.
Site.
All right, so this is going to be a fairly brief section, so we're just going to talk a little bit about the strategic plan and how we're going to get it accomplished. The strategic planning is part of the plan for water process, but it is intended to be somewhat standalone. The reason why the strategic planning process is important before you do all of your major plan for water planning is because it will help define what direction we want to go in, right? And so we need to make sure that the plan for water outcomes are somewhat consistent with the desired mission and vision of the district. And so this process is intended, like I said, it's going to be about 3 or 4 days, hopefully we get it done soon. So we have a phased approach, so we're currently what we refer to as the current strategic position. And if anybody, we have the June 7th staff report that was utilized to receive input from the board and the public on the process. Katie's going to pass that out, so you can keep it in your notes. It'll kind of outline what we're doing and why we're doing it and how we're going to get it done. So we're currently going to we're going to take a phased approach. Some people do not agree, but I do think some do agree. We're going to take one quick moment here in a few minutes to take a look at our current strategic plan to see if we've met our objectives and also to review the previous strategic planning effort. So as most of you know, the district underwent a fairly extensive strategic planning effort in 2019. And then because of the pandemic, it actually came to a halt. So we have some new board members, so I think this is a good time to get this solidified. So, yeah, I think Greg had stated the last meeting of the previous effort was like March 5th of 2020. So, like right when COVID shut everything down. Then, I lost my presentation.
I'm getting ahead of myself. There you go.
Always taking care of it. Then we're going to do an environmental scan. So the environmental scan is going to look at metrics that are relevant to NID, financial metrics, labor metrics, and we're going to do some comparison to other like agencies. It'll give us an idea of how we're doing from a market base. And so we're not going to get to the main meat of that till the next meeting, but this particular meeting, we are going to take a look at some of the major initiatives that we're currently undertaking, just so we keep those in our minds. And then we're going to take a look at some comparable strategic plans from like agencies. I think it'll kind of give you a good idea of how other people approach. You know, in public agencies, you know, there is no shame in trying to learn from other agencies, right? Or using other agencies' papers or whatever it is. It's just more efficient, and it's all public dollars, right? Public dollars pay for studies or for any staff work to be completed, and so it is very normal for public agencies to share information. So we'll be looking a little bit of that. Next meeting, we're going to tee off with the review of the metrics comparison, and then we're going to talk about SWOT analysis, which I'll touch on at the end of today, and then the public survey, which we'll both touch on at the end of today. Phase 2 will be, so there'll be 2 meetings in Phase 1. Phase 2 will be 1 meeting, and that is development of the vision statement as well as the mission statement. Phase 3 will be values. So these are values by which we agree to operate, and they are internal to the organization, and they feed into that high-performing organization. So that's why I said keep those items in the forefront of your mind, because we're going to bring them up again. And then finally, strategic priorities. As a manager of a large organization, strategic priorities is one of the tools I find to be most helpful in my daily duties of ensuring the district stays steering in the proper direction. Priorities are thought off on by the board and with input from the staff, and it makes it much easier to hone in on operational budgets, on daily activities. Because, you know, the idea is, you know, we implement our strategic priorities, and that leads us to our vision. So, next slide, Chris. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what the mission statement is. Can you move the people, Chris? They're
stuck on a different slide right now, so.
Oh, you did. Oh, there you go, perfect. Okay, so the mission statement, it's supposed to be a statement that essentially identifies what we are as a company. What is our core business? What is our purpose for being here? And how do we reach those objectives? And mission statement is very focused on today. So one thing with public agencies that's very difficult is there's not a whole lot of leeway in the mission statement development from the standpoint that we are legally restricted on what we can do as a public agency. We receive our powers from the irrigation code. So if we wanted a mission statement today that said, we are going to be the best hamburger district, make best burgers district on the planet, it would not be very lawful. We would have to really check ourselves, right? Because we cannot use, we don't receive our powers that allow us to be the Burger King of the world. We also have a lot of legal restrictions on the revenue we receive. So we have Proposition 218, we also have significant restrictions on property tax revenue, as well as the irrigation district. We hold our land and our assets in the public trust. So those all restrict our ability to really make this mission statement much outside of those legal parameters. I just want to put that in everyone's mind. So, you know, it includes what we produce, who it serves, how it serves them, and what it stands for. And this is the starting point, right? This is who we are today. This is what our core business is. And then we're going to talk about the vision statement next. It really should be clear and concise. We need to get these multi-sentence mission statements. I mean, it looks like an attorney wrote it. There's more commas and ands and semicolons. No one will ever remember it, I promise you. I have lived with a mission statement that was developed previously. It was so complex, no one could, and we had a manager at the time who go around and quiz people on it. And it was like this thing, like your performance thing. And employees were scared, low performing. They'd carry their little card in their pocket because they were terrified of not knowing it, right? That totally defeats the point of everything. Your mission statement should be something clear, concise, and makes sense. Like if we said, we're going to be the best burger place in Northern California and serve burgers to kayaks on all of our rivers, and no one remembers after the first and. So it is extremely important, clear, and concise, rooted in the laws of the district, is bound by, touched on that. And then that's our foundation, right? That serves as a foundation for strategic goals, annual budget, daily operations. And so, you know, one item is that, and we can talk about this a little bit because Greg's going to review it. You know, our mission is inherently not to provide recreation, right? We are an irrigation district. We are formed to provide water. Doesn't mean that one of our strategic priorities can be to provide the best recreation possible within the context of providing water. But you kind of get the idea, right? You really have to hone in on why are we actually here. It's not for all these ancillary reasons. You want to do well at those, and you incorporate them in your strategic priorities, but the mission reason really needs to be boiled down to what are we and why are we actually here? What enables us to be here? Okay? Vision statement. So the vision, this is the outward look, right? This is where we want to go, who we want to be when we grow. This is the long stretch goal. So, you know, for example, we can say we are going to be the highest performing water district that provides the best customer service in the entire state of California. Period. That could be a vision statement. We could say that's where we strive to be. So we are going to focus on all the strategic priorities that get us to that goal. The vision statements are also they don't need to be super long and wordy, no paragraph visions, right? You need something that's short so people remember it, buy into it, believe in it, and understand it. Can be aspirational, it should be, you know. I think Amazon's mission statement is something like, we are going to be the best customer service driven company in the universe, right? It's not even the planet. It's like beyond planet. So, and that's a big stretch goal. If he would have said that 20 years ago, people are like, okay, that's silly, right? Well, now they have a huge space program, so maybe it wasn't so silly to put the stretch goal out. And then it invites innovation, right? We have challenges ahead of us, and in order for any public agency to survive without having to increase their rates beyond an acceptable market size, you're gonna have to be innovative. Things are changing, technology is growing, and so those are, it's important that, you know, if you just set the goal as, we're gonna be an okay water district and deliver water. Well, okay, well, we are that now, so we don't do much better, right? But if you set it out there and say, we are gonna have the most technically advanced canal system in the entire state of California. Now, that's something to drive through, right? That gets Tor thinking, what can we do? What can we do? That gets Doug thinking, what can we do with our CIP project? So that's the kind of vision statement that you want. You want the stretch goal. You want something that challenges people, pushes them to think, pushes them out. So values, I touched on this earlier, values are very much internal to the organization, and this is how we operate. This is how we operate amongst each other. This is how our commitment to how we do our work, right? So these are also ultimately litmus tests for strategic priorities that we undertake. So if we had, if one of our internal values is customer service, we provide a high level of customer service. But our strategic priority was advancing an initiative that would be terrible for our customers. Those two are at odds, right? So that's when you start thinking, okay, does this work? Is our value wrong, or is our priority wrong? You know, what does the value do? The value always serves as a litmus test for how you act on an individual basis, but also how we operate on a larger macro scale. And it also helps with priority alignment, and then, you know, like I said, it is internal to the organization. This is something that really the board and all of us staff, we need to buy into and hold ourselves accountable for adhering to it. Because those values, if they're set right, that gets us on that board, right? It gets us to the high-performing board. That's where we want to be the cream of the crop. We don't want to be the average water agency that's in between UBA and PCWA. We want to be the water agency that UBA and PCWA are on the side, lower, in the uglier area. Okay, next. So strategic priorities, like I said, this is one of, from a professional standpoint, this is one of best professional tools I have found for helping manage a large organization. So strategic priorities are higher level priorities and initiatives. They're not super detailed, and they're not to be confused with specific goals. So one may be innovation. Embrace innovation to make efficiency improvements to our canal hydropower systems for regulatory purposes and efficiency, something like that. So that helps me when we're budgeting, right? So if we go off the rabbit hole trail, which happens with every public agency, and I'll give you a good example. So when I was in Steve Velasquez, at the city of Lincoln, we have these priorities, and we had terrible public safety service levels. It was dismal, 2 cops on duty at once. So we kept going down the rabbit hole. Finally, one year I got smart enough and put public safety service levels, specifically raise them as a strategic priority. So then when the city council wanted to spend a bunch of money on a skate park, you know, I said, wait a minute, those are fun and I support them, I have kids, I see the value, but we committed to this, right? So we need to keep checking ourselves. It's a way to hold ourselves collectively accountable. And, you know, I think the bottom one is important. Your strategic priorities really should get you moving forward towards your vision. And so, you know, you want to make sure you set your vision first, so then we can set the strategic priorities and start moving towards that. So does anybody have any questions about what the plan is? And once we get into each detailed section, which will start at the subsequent meetings, we will talk about it a little bit more.
I'm not sure if this is the right place for the question, but could you describe just, so we get so far in planning, and that's, but really the strategic plan isn't done at that.
No.
And so what do you envision as the process and timing for the completion of the strategic plan?
So the strategic plan was intended to be about 18 to 23 month long process. we're still in schedule, we took a little bit, because we've added meetings, and once we complete the strategic plan, the end of the stages, what am I at?
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jennifer, but you're referring to strategic plan versus plan for water.
I'm sorry, your plan for water, thank you, Karen. I'm fading, I haven't had any real food.
Sorry.
So the plan for water, so strategic planning is stage 5. The plan for water, the next stages, 6, 7, and 8, get into some fairly significant modeling efforts. The purpose of the modeling efforts is to address hydrology, demand, and supply needs. And then after that, then we start looking at strategy options. So depending on whatever the outcome is, there is a variety of strategy options that you could utilize to address those. You know, so say I'm just making up dumb numbers. I don't even know if we need more storage because we haven't gone through the modeling. If we need more storage, you could say, okay, we need whatever, 1 million acre feet of storage. Okay, there's a lot of solutions to that. It doesn't have to be one size fits all, right? That you could go build storage. You could also reduce demand. You could partner with other agencies to increase your third-party purchase supplies. So there's options, and they all need to be looked at because they all have value in them. And so that will be what occurs in the phase right after we're completed with the modeling. Everything gets put on the table because everything is valuable. And my gut tells me there's no one-size solution for anything, right? If the state of California instantly stopped allowing outdoor watering of grass, I'll tell you, everyone's demand numbers go boom, right? Outdoor water use is the predominant as ornamental grass, I'm not talking agriculture, ornamental only, is a lot of water use. I have a feeling the state will probably move in that direction at some point, but it's not there yet. But there's a flip side to that comment, right? If you have less customers and you're selling less of a commodity, your revenue requirement doesn't necessarily go down. Our system's still the same size, so rates will go up. That's what the strategy analysis is for. Identify all the strategies, analyze all the strategies at a higher level, and then once we finish with that, then we'll move on to the next phase, which will be a series of master plans. Treated water master plan, raw water master plan, hydropower master plan, and an environmental watershed master plan. Michael?
So the strategic plan is part of a comprehensive integrated water management framework, and you just spoke about those plans that are in the framework, and so when will we see the actual schematic of the integrated water management framework, the comprehensive one that includes all those general plans that you just spoke about?
We have shown it, probably not the best schematic before, but we can work on putting one together so everyone can understand how this flows, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, the first one presented in the beginning was not an integrated water management framework.
Well, so there, one of our challenges to public agencies is there's piles and piles of plans, right? And we have a lot of plans that, frankly, like the integrated regional water management plan, which is a different type of integrated water management plan. No agency I've ever heard of, they use like 3 pages in it, and it's the project pages, and they use it to solicit grants. Some of those plans, they get done once every 5 years, it gets pulled off the shelf when it needs to be redone. They're not used because they're not user-friendly to use. And so that's one of the things we're gonna have to work on is you don't wanna go through a plan for water process or a strategic planning process and not have a framework for use of your output, right? So it needs to be a usable tool. So we will start working through that. We are working on outlining what the final plan for water document looks like, how it carries into the future planning efforts. So we'll bring that forth at a meeting coming up in the future. So this is where I'd like to get some input, staff, everybody. So standalone document, my belief is that the strategic plan should be a standalone document, because once the plan for water effort is done, doesn't mean that we don't want to ever revisit or revise our strategic plan. Does everybody agree it should be its own standalone document?
Yep.
Yes, and it should be reviewed every year.
All right, so that goes to, we'll get there. So board policy to address. I believe that it should be memorialized in a board policy. Most of the time, you see it memorialized in budget policies, because the annual review is incorporated in the annual budget process. It honestly doesn't matter to me. Do we want a strategic planning policy? You know, there is also something to be said for policies that nobody uses, right? You can have a bazillion policies, and for reasons no one reads them because there's just too many for it to be effective.
I'd like to say, I believe it would be a standalone document, just like the master plan, or the urban water management plan, or the ag water management plan, or the future environmental water management plan, or the hydro plan, but it's integrated with all those plans. So it's standalone and integrated with all the companion plans. So it's not just standalone, it's both. It's integrated with and it's standalone, just like all those other plans, other companion plans.
So in practice, the companion plans, you don't integrate the strategic plan, you know, you don't integrate the other plans in, right? When you develop the other ancillary plans, they're based off of the current strategic plan, because that makes sure we're aligned.
It's integrated.
So standalone document, board policy to address, I could go either way. My professional recommendation is we put it in, address it through our budget policy, but it doesn't really matter to me. You know, it's going to be, the policy is going to address, how is it addressed in the annual budget process? What does the revisit look like annually?
It's part of the
Budget policy.
Yeah.
What do you mean the budget policy? Which policy
So we're
is that?
going to be, we're actually in the process of drafting a new budget policy. Most agencies have a budget policy. It governs how your budget process is. It's a fairly standard document. It helps the board, staff, and the public understand the expectations for the budget and the budget process specifically. Typically, and we're in the middle of drafting right now, typically the review and how the strategic plan is housed and reviewed is included in the budget policy, but it doesn't matter. Budget policy?
Budget.
Yeah.
Haven't seen that policy yet, so, yeah. See how it fits in.
All right, so then, most agencies, as part of annual budgeting, and this is a best annual budget practice, they do revisit their strategic plan on a high-level basis annually. With that said, you don't typically spend a whole lot of time on the mission, vision, values. It's a strategic priority. The board makes either a reconfirmation of the strategic priorities or revises the strategic priorities as a kind of micro strategic planning session during the budget process. And one of the ways it works is just like I just stated. City of Lincoln, we added in 1 year fiscal sustainability through sound fiscal management, something like that. And then the next year, we added in increased public safety service levels. So things can also get taken off, right? Oh, we did that. That's not even priority anymore. We're good. So I would recommend we revisit it annually. Rich, I did hear before you had some concern related to revisiting the mission and vision annually. So we can work through that in the policy.
Oh, he was in favor of it or not?
He was not in favor of revisiting the mission.
No.
So one strategy could be is to reaffirm strategic priorities annually and revisit the mission and vision on a 5-year basis.
That makes sense to me.
So how much time does it take to revisit annually?
Oh, 30 minutes, hour?
So you have the bandwidth.
Oh, yeah, it's not difficult. It's just part of budgeting. Yeah. It's always good, and I personally like it because it's a good accountability check-in, right? We all agreed to this. We brought it up again. We're all still agreeing. So I think it's a valuable tool to look at. And then measuring and monitoring, so you'll notice that, I had stated earlier, strategic priorities don't include like specific goals. We're going to increase recreation revenue by 5%. Ideally, when you complete strategic planning, as Michael was indicating, it is integrated throughout the organization, but it's integrated in all your plans, master plans, urban water management plan, all those plans, but it's also integrated into employee performance. And so once you start integrating into employee performance, we start making specific goals for our employees, and, you know, we will get more and more sophisticated as we go, but we do have to take somewhat baby steps on how comprehensive our program is. And so you will start seeing monitoring and measuring at the employee level, at the management level, and then we should talk about annually, every year, how are we doing on our strategic goals? Are we meeting them? And after the plan for water process is over, once we start actually setting some better goals and objectives on an annual basis, then we will start setting the measuring and monitoring as those goals. We don't have the bandwidth to pull all that off at once. So we are going to integrate this in a phased approach. I have seen agencies that have tried to do it all at once, and it fails every time. Everybody's, it's overwhelming. If you do it phase by phase, staff is used to it, doesn't cause it.
One thing that we instituted a few years ago, it's fallen by the wayside since, is that every single agenda item that came to the board noted what strategic plan goal or, you know, or strategy that this relates to. So everything that we do that comes to the board is tied back to the strategic plan, that keeps the strategic plan in the forefront of people's minds.
And that is a good idea, and I have noticed it's still on some staff reports. I think that it's fallen by the wayside because honestly, there's some confusion on staff with what strategic plan we're under. Technically, we're under the 2016.
Yeah, we're still under the 2016.
Right. So we will, once we go through this process, we can reincorporate that.
The days that they're in campground.
All right, so I know you are totally tired of listening to me talk, so I'm going to turn it over to Greg. And he is going to review our current strategic position and the effort we went through before.
Okay. Does everybody need to stand up? Everybody okay for a minute? Good. A resounding we're okay. All right, I'm just gonna probably stand right over here. We did have handouts of the strategic plan. I don't know if anybody got those, but we have our current strategic plan. I'm not gonna go through it item by item, but I will hit on the,
This is the 2021?
no, the 2016 to 2018, which is actually the current strategic plan that NID is under. It's on the slide screen right now. Again, this was, an effort that we started to undertake back in 2018 to update the strategic plan. There's 4 particular goals. The mission statement, as you see right there, is the district will provide a dependable water quality supply, continue to be good stewards, while conserving the available resources in our care. It's pretty concise, it's pretty sweet, it's pretty tight. I'm gonna get into what we've done since then, and, but the current plan is on the website. It is stated here, and it's in the handout, it's on the screen, so everybody who's outside and in the world can have access to it at any point they want. It's been the district's strategic plan since 2016. As Jennifer noted, and you noted, Laura, is that we did go through a moment of trying to incorporate different elements of all staff reports when we were gonna do a project or when we were gonna do a purchase construct or something. We would try to incorporate this activity that you're about to vote on is measured by its element with strategic plan goal number 1, 2, 3, or 4. After a while, it did get confusing. Staff did have a hard time, and I think the board did too. What strategic plan are we on? And so you can see it on the screen. I really don't want to go through it. It's been in the district's back pocket since 2016, so I don't really want to spend time on it unless anybody has any particular questions about it. I think we do have an opportunity, and we tried to move on back in 2018, and that's what this purpose is here, is to reimagine and reinvigorate this strategic plan and where we want to go. So unless anybody has any particular questions, I don't think we need to go through the
It would
specifics.
be helpful if this was on the website.
It is on the website.
It is.
It is on the website.
Under financial district document.
If you click on, I think it's under, at this point, it's under a couple places. Definitely on the plan for water site. It might be under the
Should be under
strategic document.
Say what?
Okay, we can put
We'll make
that one
sure,
on the
we'll make sure that it's up in front and center, starting tomorrow. So that's the strategic plan. Anybody have any questions from the public, the audience?
Is part of, any of these plan efforts, has anyone like pulled all the mission statements over time? I'd be curious getting access just to see how the missions migrated over time.
That's a good question. I'm not
Because
sure.
when we
that
talk to, you know, kind of the legacy farmers, they have a very specific vision that is quite different than.
What it is now?
Yeah, so I would just like to see where it migrated.
That's a really good, okay, we can look into that. That's a good point. So, I'm going to move on, Chris, probably to our PowerPoint presentation in the next slide.
This is all moved around, sorry. Can't find my way around here.
Things going on up there. It would be interesting to see, though, the change of language over time, what was original and then how it evolved over time.
Be like free water is good.
Water or self-determinate. You know, there are all these little bits and pieces.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to give deference to the past and what we've done since 2018, because there's been a lot of people that have been in a lot of meetings similar to this, that have gone through this a couple different times with NID, and I just wanted you to know that a lot of that information, a lot of those ideas, and a lot of that concept has been cataloged and has been captured by NID. So this is an opportunity to sort of look back at a high level of some of those themes that we've done in the past, and now break off from there. So that was a stepping stone, and I want to make sure that everybody's aware that did not just go to the wayside, yet it has been a couple years since we visited it. We started back in December of 2018. We did some previous plan for water workshops on the 1st and the 10th. Many of you might have been in that room those two times. One was here at the fairgrounds, and then another was down at the elementary school in Auburn. And so that was the 1st and the 10th. Then there was a period of time when that stopped. We then became focused on the strategic plan. Then we had 5 different workshops on the strategic plan. The last one, as Jennifer indicated at the beginning, was March 5th, which was kind of auspicious. When I was looking at those dates, I couldn't remember. I was scratching my head like, when was that? And so it took a minute to figure it out, but then, oh yeah, 6 days later, the whole place shut down. Next slide. So we learned a lot from each of those events, and we captured a lot of information. Going to give you some high-level overview. We have the catalog of all the activities, all the responses, all of the information that we received in the website, and it's on the Plan for Water page, and we'll make sure that it's well cataloged and everybody can find it so that you can get to it. But on December 1st, 2018, we had more than 70 people at the fairgrounds. It was a cold, rainy, nearly snowy day here in Nevada County, if anybody remembers that. Yeah. We had many organizations come. We had ranchers, we had artists, we had scientists, we had engineers, we had community members, and we had different organizations that came. We talked about what is the strategic vision for NID and for NID's water management. That was really the basis. We were trying to get this sense of the plan for water process and focusing on the strategic vision. We broke people out into breakout groups, and if you remember, there was a lot of sticky notes, and a lot of people put their sticky note, their red, blue, yellow dot on what they thought would be a vision, and people created these themselves. So the next slide. One up. Yeah,
12-1. So some of the themes that came out from that meeting, and these were cataloged from our consultant that was helping us at the time, our facilitator. We've got roughly 10 different themes there that were characterized from protecting the local community to best practice for water conservation and education with and incentives, to ensuring that we have safe drinking water, fostering natural methods through ecological stewardship, addressing concerns over different projects or activities that the district is working on. So a lot of information. We had 70 people putting sticky notes up and creating even a lot of different individualized questions and comments that people made. Again, they're all cataloged and they're interesting, but in general, of all of them, these were the major themes that came out, meaning that these had the most sticky notes attached to them that people wanted information on and wanted the district to focus on as it thinks about its reservoir and water management over the next 50 years. Next slide. So meeting number 2 came along 9 days later, December 10th. We had about 45 people on this one. This was at Rock Creek Elementary in Auburn in the gymnasium. Again, we sorted out into breakout groups. We had a smaller group, so we had 4 different breakout groups. Similar to this, we had tables set up, and a lot of people came up with different ideas. Next slide. Here we actually had a lot more themes. I don't know why it was just a large, more, like almost twice the amount of themes, but just a varying degree of activities. We had a lot of the same type of people, a lot of the same interests, a lot of the same organizations and individuals, but then we also had others. But again, these are different themes from a similar question. What should NID be doing to focus on water resource management from now into the future? Everything from increased customer education to conservation initiatives, to protecting our Nevada and Placer County water rights, environmentally friendly public use of water, fair rates that incentivizes use priorities, healthy drinking water always comes up, and collaboration regionally across stakeholder users. So these are a lot of the themes that people used. Again, it was those sticky notes, those different different color sticky notes. Next slide. All right, then we took a little break after that, and we came back in, I believe it was September. And in September, around September 3rd of 2019, we had a series of 5 different workshops. These workshops were board meetings, essentially. They were held at the district boardroom. The goal here was to update and fine-tune NID's then current mission. Remember, this was our move from the 2016-2018 mission, vision, values into a newer, realigned, and reimagined and revisioned strategic mission, vision, and values. We walked through the December 1st and 10th, 2018 update, so we talked about what people wanted. We incorporated that information into these 5 meetings, and that was the basis for those meetings, and tried to help define what the board wanted to do in terms of its update. And so we did this in the boardroom, and again, there might have been, over those meetings, you know, some people came, same people, others came in and out, so it was a dynamic environment for those particular meetings. Next slide. Okay, so at the end, by the time we reached March 5th, right, we had 5 different meetings. At the end, the board came up with sort of I'd say unified sort of suite of language that it fell upon in terms of a mission, vision, value, and it created 6 different goals. So there was a lot of haggling over, I think, wordsmithing various little things, and some of you board members were here for that. Most of you, I think, were there in the room anyway. So, right, I don't know if I necessarily need to read it. I don't want to just read what's on the screen. You can read it yourself. But, and it's in the packet, it's in the slides. But we created a new mission, and if you recall, it's a little shorter than the previous current mission that we have in our 16 to 18 vision strategic plan, but it's similar. The vision was created to protect healthy watersheds and reliable infrastructure. So we talked about reliability, we talked about infrastructure, environment, customers, power, recreation. So created these visions for the district that may be applicable today, may not. Next slide. I just wanted to mention this. These were not adopted at NID. We did not get to the place where this was adopted. So COVID hit and focus has changed. So then we got to 6 different values that were created from these conversations. Value around safety, a value around fiscal, around district finances, operational and district finances with strong fiscal responsibility and transparency. We had a value statement around resources and maintaining the healthy watersheds through implementation of BMPs in collaboration with strategic partners. Next slide. The last 3 were a value that defined our customers, committed to maintaining and fostering a viable workforce, fair compensation of packages, and stable work environment. Decision-making, dedicated to using best available science and practices in all of the NID's informed decisions. And then finally, the final value that was identified during that period was transparency. Strives to inform and educate our community on our endeavors, honestly and with integrity. So those were the 6 values that were created back in 2019 and 2020. Finally, within those, we created 6 different strategic goals. So those strategic goals were sort of defined in a big spreadsheet, but they're defined here as strategic goal 1. The continued health of the district is dependent on proactive management of our physical, natural, and human resources. Then we developed a series of action items, and the action items should reinforce those goals. Those goals reinforce the values reinforce the mission and the vision. So it just walks right back up. We made 3 particular action items. 1.1, enhancing the development, recruitment, and retention program. Develop the capital planning program that addresses reliability and redundancy. And 1.3 is reviewing criteria on which the district prioritizes projects. I think these are some of the things that we talked about, sort of coming back and monitoring and identifying on an annual or even through every staff report that comes through. There's things that staff can point to and say, it does do this, and it does monitor this, and it does measure in some way. And they have to be measurable to some degree, that we know that we're making it. Otherwise, staff is kind of flailing out in the wood, thinking that they're trying to do the right thing, yet trying to tie it to something along an action item which touches a goal, which touches the mission, which touches the value. The strategic goal number 2 that was created was seeking collaboration with relationships with our local and regional communities. 4 different action items were based on that. Number 1 was collaborate with the ag community to enhance fire protection. Number 2 was collaborate with land use planners in investigating water resource options. 3 is engaging with supportive partners, and 4 is working with schools to expand conservation and educational awareness. Strategic plan goal number 3, develop and manage the resources for local control of our community's most valuable assets. 5 different action items were based on this: expanding funding for the community investment program, protecting our environment and facilities by developing plans to protect and enhance them, etc. So I don't have to read through each of those. Next slide. The last 3 goals that were created at the end of 2019 into the beginning of 2020. Number 4 would be to integrate and establish practices and technologies that enhance the efficiency throughout NID. 5 different action items came out of that. again, we never really got to how these were going to be measured, but they need to be measured, they need to be identified, and they need to be supported in some way. And when we get into this situation and this new vision of the updated strategic plan, we can tier off a lot of these, or we can just create our own suite. So these action items, we're engaging in innovations that develop BMPs, best management practice. Here's herbicide reduction, similar to what Mr. Pasner spoke about this morning. This afternoon. Continue to look for opportunities to enhance and support field operations and develop and enhance sustainable and resilient communication network for all actions of the district. Number 5 was maintain a financially healthy district by a sustainable and resilient budget. This was the financial aspect of the goal-setting process, so establishing the appropriate financial policies in support of a sustainable budget. I think Jennifer's hit on that a number of times today. Annual year-end review of the sustainability percentage to the goal, and that kind of touches on, at the end of every year, can we measure what we have said we want to do versus what we have done throughout the year? So that's sort of a measurement tool, I think, that needs to be defined and thought about, and actively increase other revenue sources, grants, timber sales, water sales, other activities where we diversify the revenue stream for NID. Number 6 was to improve and protect the district's water supply. The number of action items that we created there were 3. Obtain and utilize the downscale global climate change model. You remember, that is a model that I think national laboratories created in conjunction with PCWA, and it was taking a climate modeling down to a watershed and even sub-watershed level. So that was something that was interesting at that time. Address the mandated allocations of water under the FERC license, and prioritize the safety and longevity of the district infrastructure. Oh, there's a 4th. It's hidden in there. See, sometimes you got to read these 17 times to find what you want to talk about. Achieve and surpass the state mandated climate action plan targets. So those are elements that the board at the time was interested. We created this. We were very close to actually adopting it and making it, I believe, the 2020 to 20. I don't know if we had a time limit on it, but this is in deference to everything we've done before. Because I've heard a couple different times that, oh, these meetings don't amount to anything, and we don't want it to be there because we want to feel that we're heard. Trust me, staff, board members, public, the staff does hear, and we do collect, and we do listen, and we just sometimes takes a bit to bring it back in full circle, but here we go, and I wanted to make sure that that's where we're at today. That sort of finalizes the overview of where we've been. Now I think it's a matter of sort of, where we go.
Yeah, does anybody have any feedback or input or comments, questions on the previous exercises? We're not completely throwing everything in the garbage, and we're not just copying it. What we're doing is using it for information, using it as a starting basis. It could be a starting basis where you look at it and say, nah, throw it out, I don't want to do that. Or it could be, there's some good stuff in there, let's leverage some of it. You know, it's all up to how the group thinks and how we're doing.
So you're now like 2 or 3 years, maybe 3 or 4 years past the original drafting of this, and I know it wasn't ratified and adopted. Has anyone put like a scale to see how much of this was actually completed? It'd be interesting to see what was done.
Yeah,
it might be a good starting point.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. I can tell you just from a practical perspective, because it's never adopted, no one ever looks at it.
Yeah.
So how much of it would be done would be by happenstance, but we can still take a look at it.
Yeah.
You know, one
Maybe-
of the things, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, maybe just a 1, 3, 5 kind of scale that
No.
it was looked at, it was never touched, or, yeah.
I could see how that'd be valuable.
It would be valuable. One of the things I noticed right away was, review criteria in which the district prioritizes projects. So I know that we came up with, you know, a really good metric, and staff did a wonderful job, Doug and everybody, you know, worked on it, to give us a good, capital improvement project matrix, how we score it, how we prioritize it, and that's just been in the last year, right? Isn't that right?
No, we did it for the 2021 budget.
Yeah, and so, you know,
Yeah,
that
some of
was,
them have been done.
yeah, so that was like a really cool thing. Whether that happened because it was in the strategic plan that never was adopted,
Yeah.
my guess is no. I think it's because the board was saying we really need something, because it felt like it was happening, like.
I think the things that are in there that got done are the high priority items, right? That's what.
Perhaps, and yet then there's other things that just sort of feel like words on paper and don't have a lot of meaning to me when I start looking at it, you know? And so, I think it's useful to look back and look at this and sort of, I mean, I don't know how I would use this so much other than it is an interesting exercise to look back and not have lost this data. And maybe there's some things going forward that we can work on and make it better.
Well, if you recall, 3/5 of the board members that are here developed all that language that we just saw.
Right.
The two that weren't actually at the dais were part of the conversation multiple times. So there is an element of, you know, that, and since then, like you say, there's been questions, hey, can we do this, can we do this? So,
Right.
so we have created that CIP
Right, I mean, that's a
platform, right?
wonderful
And that's
example.
something that's like, maybe it's just sort of been under the radar, it's been created, haven't been referenced back to this document that was never ratified, but it's been.
Yeah, the exercise will also serve the purpose for some evaluation of a goal that doesn't work, right?
Yeah, there you go.
It can be too vague, it could be on point, it could be.
Finite, achievable, and measurable.
Exactly.
If they don't meet that three metrics, they'll not do that.
Yep, I agree.
So are you asking us, what's the question?
I think that the parking lot that I wrote, so I started a parking lot over there to kind of note the things we've talked about wanting to do. And so it's basically, we're going to staff review the goals that were in the 2019 effort to see if any of them were achieved. Now, given in consideration was never adopted, so because it was never adopted, I can just be very forthright. I don't go by it. But I do think there is value in taking a look. Have we done some of them? Do we just naturally do them? I think it will help kind of identify the types of goals that are effective goals to get to the vision we want.
Jennifer, we got a question, Michael.
I do have a perspective. I mean, I'm looking forward as opposed to looking back. And we have so much on our plate right now. I'm going, well, I mean, so what if we did something or didn't do something? But that's not, to me, the issue is what are we doing going forward? And if we had all the time in the world, I'd say, yeah, let's see how we did, but we're really not using this as a foundation.
So Karen, my thought was a lot of time went into this, like 2 years.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some goals that weren't focused on or
Right,
some
I
that were.
agree.
And we don't have to spend 2 years figuring out.
Yeah. But
Right?
those will
And
come up.
it is looking forward, but it's like taking the work that was done.
I just feel that the issues facing the district today are so much more significant than what are articulated here. That's my honest feedback. I do not think that these goals, and I sent a letter documenting why I felt these goals were extremely weak. And it wasn't a reflection of the people who did the work, but how it was cast, in my opinion, does not advance the district from where it is to where it needs to be. And that giant leap isn't based on an analysis of, did we do this, or, I just worry that we'll just get bogged down in that, and it's kind of like, and so what?
So one option might be, is that so I'm also, right, I'm the penny pincher efficiency person. There is some value in, for me, revisiting them, just to see what were people thinking, what was it, and then it's in my mind, right? I can kind of, okay, these weren't achieved, are these, like, there was one goal, develop an employee, recruitment and retention program. We need that,
Yeah.
right? But labor is terrible right now. It's really hard to recruit. So in my mind, I just kind of put it over there, that when we're going through our bigger strategic priorities, it's just kind of like a laundry list that you could just go back to and say, okay, that one was a good idea, let's put this, that falls in this category or supports that strategic priority. I think it's just more of a shortcut. I would have spent a lot of time on it, you know, Greg and I could probably walk out in the hallway and do it in about 15 minutes and come back and give you an idea. So I think it's a worthwhile exercise. I don't think we should spend 2 meetings on it. I don't think that is relevant at all. But I think it might be a little bit of a cheat sheet.
I guess my point is, we should have a fresh foundation. We have, I think the fact that the level of NID staff engagement is what it is, that was not at the prior planning meeting that I saw. That we had mid-level managers there, and so I see us having a whole new, kind of intellectual group coming here, and to me, I mean, I get what you're saying, yeah, we can check off the boxes, fine, but we're all about tomorrow, and the next, our planning framework is 50 years out. Our planning framework isn't, you know, well, I mean, I guess strategic planning is shorter term, but anyway,
Maybe to put it a little bit in perspective, so the goals that you see are not the priorities, right? This strategic planning effort is going to be focused on priorities, and then we're going to be diving into goals after the priorities. I will wholeheartedly agree, priorities should be set based off of this effort. You can take the information so you understand what the students' concerns were from before, but they should be basically built from the foundation up. For me, the goal exercise is really a checklist so we don't forget any good ideas. Put it on the wall when we're setting goals. We can say, oh, you know, that was a good idea. They did have a good idea back then. That's all.
Hey, Jen, we've got a,
Okay.
Michael,
Diana.
question, and then Diana.
Okay, sorry, Diana first, then Michael.
Well, I remember the history of this, because I was at all those meetings, and one of the things that came out was we said use current scientific knowledge for decision-making. And then when it came to the goal, it was like decision-making, and then we're only going to talk to scientists. And it's like, that was totally not what everybody said. They said base it on science, and instead it became who do we listen to? And I ended up walking out of that meeting because they told me that the people that lived in the canyon wouldn't have a say-so on something to flood our canyon. And so that created a lot of discord, and it was because the sentence was turned around and the meaning was changed. So some of those goals have a bad history to them.
I'm sure, so remember, but this is just a checklist of old good ideas that may suck now. Right? We're not buying into it. I think the exercise is worthwhile from the standpoint of not throwing away the entire effort, and it just helps us not forget something. But we don't have to adopt any of them, buy into them, agree with them. We're just saying, okay, did we forget anything? Does that seem reasonable? Michael?
Okay, before most of this conversation occurred, I wanted to chime in and give Greg a very thank you for bringing that synopsis of the past to the present, because it is really important. And I've been involved with the strategic planning NID since I've been a customer, well before all this latest stuff started. And so what you brought forward was very important. The data that you have there, especially from the first 2 meetings, that was very professionally done in my point of view. I've been to a lot of meetings at statewide level and regional levels, and those first 2 meetings were facilitated very well. And I really enjoyed them, and everybody got to put their stickers and everything. And that's really good data. And the information that goes forward is data-driven, and that's just part of the data that we look at. And I think it's important, and it can fall into suit. Whatever you think of that data now is still important, but it's still part of the data set that goes forward. Oh, thank you.
No, I appreciate that. And that was I will say that was the promise to the public back then. was that it was going to be held. We are going to bring it forth at the right time when it is appropriate, and this is the right time.
And all of it's documented in the plan of order, it's all in the, all that information is in there. And, not only this document that you provided on June 7th, but if you go back to the March 2020, if you go back to the March 2020 agenda and the item, you'll find a similar document that includes, I think a wrap-up of that I think you might have given, or Rim gave, about, in the same similar fashion, what went on, the letters received, the input from internal and external clients. So if you're interested in the history, March 2020 agenda.
March 5th, it's on the board, it's on the website.
It's on the website.
Rich?
Yeah, so, no, thank you for capturing this. I look at this as a point of departure. I think you did a great job. Some of this will stood the test of time, some hasn't. But in the last 2 to 3 years, everything has changed. And so, to Karen's point, we have a lot of new challenges that we have to face. So I think we have our homework. By the next meeting, we better have our principles, goals. Let's write them out. Let's get our minds on it, and come prepared.
That's not happening at the next meeting.
Well, I'll skip it.
You're impatient, I'm orchestrating the process.
But when it does come, we're gonna have to be ready for it.
Absolutely, but this is all good conversation that builds up to being able to do that. Some of it seems silly and a waste of time, but it really is to build a foundation so that we can develop a really sound strategic plan.
I just want to try and do the last, having been one of the 2/3 that was there for all those meetings, that there was a huge effort into this. We haven't touched on the day long we had, that I have the staff was there, okay, so.
When we were at the
Powerhouse, yeah.
Yeah, that was very cool.
And there's a lot of information in that document. I would see this as a basis, okay? As Greg was reading it through, I go, oh, well, that's been happening. I think it was common sense stuff that went into this, first off, okay? There was stuff that we all knew we needed to be doing, even if we didn't pull it off the shelf and read it. So I really see this as a basis. There's a lot of, I think there's more basis in this than throwing it away and starting a new base. And, especially from the time that we and the public and the staff put into the time. And that, I really don't think, I don't disagree, there are changes been happening, that the day-to-day stuff that needs to happen is in here. And so I'd like to see us keep it as a basis to check back to, start from.
Yeah, I reference that as a tool. Laura?
I concur, that those first 2 meetings in that December of 2018, 70 people and the 45 people, we've never had that many people come, and they really participated, and they really gave us a lot of data. And I don't think the bulk of them have changed their opinion of what their thoughts are on it. And so, to keep it in mind and keep it bringing forward to make sure that we are referencing that and addressing people's concerns, I think is important.
Okay, I think I've gotten really good input, I have some ideas, give me a little time to work some magic and come back next meeting to further address this.
Good.
All right, anybody, I'm gonna move on, anyone?
No more Legos next time.
Oh, you just wait till my next time, team building. All right, trust fall. Okay.
You go first.
No, I am the orchestrator, not the doer. See, I did not build one Lego.
Trust you.
Trust me.
Yeah, so, Katie is gonna pass out a quick handout, so this is just, and then, can you put the spreadsheet up? So this is what we refer to as current major initiatives. We're not gonna spend a ton of time on it. We're at 5:15, we promised to be done by 6. I see some people getting tired, some people getting bored and hungry. Candy's running out. So, the purpose of this is to kind of, have just a quick conversation about the major initiatives that staff and the board are undertaking right now that are outside of our normal workload, right? So these are not normal routine things, these are things that are above and beyond daily operations. And the reason why I bring this up is because I think it will provide some good background for the strategic priorities section that we're gonna get into. I think it'll provide you some good information about what we're doing. So this spreadsheet is getting passed around, and mind you, this is not intended to be all-encompassing. I guarantee you there are things that are left off of it. Board members, you've seen this in various forms before. I have kind of summarized it so we don't spend 9 hours on it. It's not intended to bicker about what we're doing. This is just what currently is on our plate because some of these things will drive the next 5 years. The spreadsheet includes white rows as well as peach rows. The peach rows are very large, very time consuming. And so I just wanted to highlight that. So this, in my professional opinion, for the amount and level of staff we have, this is a full plate, right? So Plan for Water in itself is a very big undertaking, and a huge thanks to Greg and Chris and Katie and Joanne. Doug's been spearheading the modeling effort, a huge thanks to staff. It takes a whole village to move a Plan for Water, strategic planning, and Plan for Water process forward. And so it has been a giant undertaking. So, and like I said, this is not intended to be all-encompassing. There are piles of other things, but these are intended to give you a quick snapshot of the things that are kind of taking up a lot of our staff time right now, but also the things that are going to be pretty monumental in changes to the district moving forward. So finance, as we've talked before, we are still in progress of doing our financial overhaul. It is a multi-pronged process. It includes policies, processes, procedures, and it is all intended to ensure we have sound, accurate, transparent finances. We've already made a lot of modifications to how we handle finances through the budgeting process. We, pulled all capital projects out into their own funds. We've done a cost allocation. This also includes daily procedures, how we reconcile, how we close periods. And so it is a major, major undertaking for the district. In my professional opinion, this is the number one important thing that we are doing right now. The district's finances and your financial system, public entities' finances and financial systems are not sound, you are at great jeopardy for very large failure or legal issues or revenue issues. So it is the backbone of the agency, and so we are focusing a lot of effort on that. There are many finance policies that we have in draft form right now. They're going to start getting pushed out from basically September through the end of the year. So stay tuned for those. Those are intended so that the board understands their role, but also knows what their expectation will be so they can provide proper fiscal oversight. And so one of the things that happens a lot with public agencies is the board just doesn't quite understand where their expectations should be or what they should be reviewing. So we are going to be establishing some policies. And what this will do is it kind of sets those check gates up, right? So we're going to have a lot of check gates so that the finances won't have the ability to get all that terrible because you would have noticed before the policies were being violated. So stay tuned for that. That is a huge undertaking. Huge kudos to our finance department as well as the Aurora's team and customer service. It pretty much impacts just about everybody. We're also going to be doing, we did what I refer to as a quick and dirty cost allocation study for the last budget. We are going to be using the same methodology for the 2023 budget, but we will be in the next 6 months focusing on hiring a consultant to do an actual cost allocation study. Formal cost allocation studies are very detailed, include a lot of data information, but for the purposes of wanting to get overhead costs allocated proportional to each fund, we did do kind of a quicker, dirtier calculation, but we will be expanding on that through a formal cost allocation study that we'll consult services for. Water rate study, we also will be putting out the RFP for water rates coming up soon. So look to the 2023 year for the water rate process to somewhat be initiated. And this is one thing I know I've talked to Doug and I have spoke about, Chip and I spoke about, and several board members. So because we are in process of doing this massive planning effort, then we're gonna turn to these master plans. We are gonna have some what I refer to as interim rates, right? They're not going to reflect the master planning that will be done. The rates need to be done before. That's okay though. So per Prop 218, as well as Mitigation Fee Act, you should always update your fee study or your rate study every 5 years. You can also do it, it doesn't matter. You would always do it earlier, but I do feel that it is extremely important that we get those rates out there. Connection fee study, Mr. Roderick put the RFP out, so we're initiating that effort now. Did we pull the consultant on board yet?
Yes.
We have a consultant on board, so we're starting it. The connection fees are fees that new development, new parcels, when they want to connect to the system, they're basically paying for their fair share of the existing infrastructure and future projects. They don't pay, and this is an important nuance, and we always get asked this question. Connection fees cannot pay for maintenance and repair and replacement. They can only pay for their fair share of existing infrastructure that is required to serve them. The finance, so with the finance system, the ERP, as everybody knows, we did.
I have a clarification real quick.
Yes, ma'am.
On the connection fees. So if you have an aging water line that's going to an area and there's connections out, it would help pay for that?
No, it would only help pay for that if the replacement also had a direct nexus to needing to serve that purpose.
That's nothing to it. If it's a water line, it was a trunk line that was going to their neighborhood and they were gonna be teeing off of and being, yeah.
But it has to, you have to have a real nexus. So say in your example, I buy this parcel at the end of the street and the old junky water line's there. It's not likely that the district can make a nexus that just because my parcel was going there, that I should have to pay, right? For upsizing or replacement of that pipe. What it can pay for is if Ben actually bought 900 parcels and I'm gonna do a big development. And so I need that upsize and it needs to be replaced. My fee can have a direct nexus to part of that replacement project. So the ERP, so we had to do the interim step with the ERP, as the board and staff is aware. We were in the process of moving on to a real fancy, sophisticated ERP system, which is essentially our financial system that we utilize every day, all day long, everything from customer billing to how we do accounting, to how we move cash, to how we account for cash. We are going to move on to an extremely sophisticated system, and it's, as my professional opinion, as well as multiple people in the industry, including our old consultant, we're destined to absolutely fail if we moved over to it. We did not have the processes and procedures or the staff resources to make a switch from where we were like in second grade and we were going to go to PhD town within a matter of 6 months. And we need to do a full financial cleanup first. So as everyone knows, we put a pause on that project, but what we are doing, because our existing financial system is on its own server that is about to die, we are doing an upgrade to their cloud version of the same project. It is still time intensive though, right? It takes a lot of effort to do these financial system upgrades. You're talking about massive data, massive processes, massive procedures, and it's all interconnected. Michael.
Like Trevor said about the history of one of those other items, how it progressed, is it possible that you could also look at the role that hydroelectric net income played in the financial structure of NID? So you'll find a little bit of that written in the paper I gave you. That is, when NID was founded back in 1921, it was wholly built upon revenue from hydroelectric. I mean, it's a very, very important part of NID. And how it has changed since then and where it is now, and what it will be like in the future, near future and long-term future, is very important for decision-making in this strategic plan.
Correct. So one of our phases in the plan for water, which can occur next time, is kind of doing the environmental scan, which is going to look at a lot of those metrics. What we are not going to have is the full-scale hydropower revenue and expenditure analysis by powerhouse. And the reason being is it's highly dependent on a lot of this financial cleanup. We're just not quite to the piece yet. But it is in the forefront of our minds. Kian and I have had numerous conversations about it. So we will touch on it. We'll touch on the metrics that are easily extractable, but I'm not going to be able to get you down to the granular level just quite yet. Oh, we have a question here. All right, Mr. Linton. Our first public comment. So Mr. Linton says, I want to agree with Director Johansson, no more Lego games that seem like an internal training exercise and a waste of people's time. I have to respectfully disagree with Mr. Linton. So team building is always good and is especially important. Did you say that?
Did he?
I'm talking to back the boss up.
No, I thought the Lego was quite a interesting activity.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, yeah.
It's interesting who didn't participate.
Yeah, Mr. Linton was invited to participate, but, you know, there are very specific reasons why you do team building, and it goes right back to that, right? High-performing entities. And so we have to keep that in our minds.
You shouldn't put words in my mouth.
All right, Mr. Director, Rich says he did not say that. Okay, next. So within banking and cash, we're still working through some specific accounting issues related to cash and our banking transition. We are in the middle of doing a banking transition. Everybody will remember we went from Wells Fargo to Tri-County to Bank of the West. Now we're going back to Wells Fargo. So being a large entity with a ton of customers, lots of cash rolling through, lots of different wires of cash, we need a very sophisticated cash accounting system and an accounting system in general, and it has to be able to interface with the banks. And so, you know, a government agency that has much money flowing through it, unfortunately, it's really hard to lead the top 5 banks here. They have government platforms that Aurora can attest to, that we utilize and interface with on a daily basis. And I had some very significant concerns with the Bank of the West platform as well as feedback from staff. So we're going back. We're in the middle of that. That is a huge initiative to do. Sorry, Aurora.
Thank you.
By her presence, so she's happy. Okay, reserve policy. We are working on a reserve policy. So this is essentially relates to restricted reserves. That will be reserved by policy. There is a current policy, needs to be revisited. We are doing some cash flow analysis related to reserves, so stay tuned. Plan for water process, obviously super time consuming. The capital improvement process, so we took a big bite out of it last year with the new scoring, ranking, prioritization system. And now we're starting to tier into the 5-year capital improvement program. But remember, keep in mind, you know, expect we're in the interim phase, right? Once we get through all our master planning, those will then be in place. Voluntary agreements, so we are still in conversation with the state regarding a voluntary agreement, which is basically a component of the regulatory pathway for compliance with the Bay Delta Basin Plan update. So it's going to be part of a supplemental environmental document. There are 2 pathways for regulatory compliance that are contemplated in the drafts right now. One is through unimpaired flow standard and one is through voluntary compliance. Primary difference is that the voluntary agreements, although the flows are typically less than the unimpaired flow standard, the voluntary agreements do require a habitat component and they do have a funding and payment component associated with it. So stay tuned. The process is super long and drawn out, so we will be bringing an item forward to the board to further discuss. It would be, there is no actual NID voluntary agreement. The only thing there is currently right now is a very generic high-level memorandum of agreement that is being signed by agencies, and it frankly has no legal teeth. What's taking our time right now is working with the DWR as well as the Water Board and the fishery agencies on modeling and flows, because we have to take into consideration potential future FERC flows. South Center water negotiations, this is related to their protests as well as a request for waiver related to the state filed water right application that was originally filed for Centennial, so it's an ongoing process. That's through the Administrative Hearing Office. We are working on a retention policy. We are, as an agency, we are collectively hoarders, and we need to get our act together. We hoard electronic data, we hoard boxes, we are just straight hoarders. They could do one of the shows on it, reality show. So we are working on that, and it's problematic, you know, not only is it a fire and a rat hazard, but there's a cost to it, right? There's a cost of server storage, there's also legal costs. You know, if you have documents, whatever document you have to produce. And we are out of control in our documents, and we'll be bringing that back. Human Resources, Naomi is starting to work on a comprehensive personnel policy update. We have a lot of policies that are in conflict between themselves, the MOU, and actual practice, so she's going through a review of that now. Look for that probably, I don't know, December, January timeframe. We're going to bring it as a block. Staff alignment, we're continuing to evaluate staffing needs. You know, we have some areas where we need to make some specific staffing investments. One is in finance and one is in IT. Those are our two biggest risky areas right now. So continue to look for information during the budget process for that. Cash handling, recreation, Monica almost had that one taken care of. We're doing amazing this year. She implemented a new system, so great job, because that audit file was hanging around 2014, so we kind of finally turned the reins over to Monica and John, and they're doing a wonderful job. Revenue analysis, that has a lot to do with recreation and also hydropower, so we're starting to do some long-term revenue projections, expenditure projections. We have some really, really big expenditures ahead of us in hydropower as well as water, related to Scotts Flat Spillway, Chicago Park Rewind, and then FERC relicensing. So that's a big one. So we're laying out some long-term projections right now. FERC relicensing, Kim's been doing a great job. It did rear its head again, and it is extremely time-intensive. We did receive an additional information request from FERC, which requires additional coordination with PG&E as well as Yuba. And there is a new temperature issue related to the South Yuba that we're working through with the regulatory agencies right now. We're in pre-consultation, so we'll keep you posted. But Keaton and Tina have been doing just a wonderful job herding that effort. It is very, very timely, and so I do appreciate all of your hard work on that. And complicated. South Yuba Canal transfers, this is the acquisition from PG&E. We're dispute resolution right now. I think that'll probably get itself resolved, I don't know, within probably the next month or so. So we'll keep you posted. It is a legal issue, so I'm not going to provide too much information related to it. The business cost analysis I touched on for hydro. We're also, Ken is doing a great job shepherding in the work order system through CMMS. So, you know, these aren't necessarily strategic priorities, but these are major initiatives we're undertaking that likely are associated with some type of strategic priority. If they're not, right, this list would have to change. So the point of bringing this up was just to have a quick conversation with them about it, share where we're at, give everybody a common understanding of what we're doing and how we're doing it. And then, you know, I like to use this type of a tool just as a check-in so we can kind of keep people in the loop of what's going on. So, anybody have a question? Michael?
Do you have any tribal consultations for the voluntary agreement? They were part of the unfair flows or the flow requirements that the board has put out. So back when they did that, there was big tribal consultations. And so I'm wondering whether or not your specific voluntary agreement and that which you'll bring to the board will involve tribal consultation.
No, so the tribal consultation would occur at the state level. So the Voluntary agreement status currently at this point is limited to a memorandum of agreement and a term sheet, which are very generic and apply to any participant that's participating in a voluntary agreement. They have no details in them, there's nothing necessarily to consult about. This does have to go through CEQA, so the State Water Resources Control Board, when they do their basin plan amendment, is going to have to do consultation.
Doesn't mean you can't.
And I'm not saying we won't, we just have nothing to consult about.
Are you collaborating with other agencies on your voluntary agreement, or is it strictly an NID?
No, we collaborate on multiple levels. We collaborate on like a Northern California regional level. We collaborate on more of, you know, the core Placer County Water Agency, South Sutter, us, and Yuba. We're trying to collaborate and bring South Sutter along. They haven't really been at the table too much, so it's very collaborative.
And the draft will be made public.
The draft is already public. You can already see that the voluntary agreements is not an NID document.
NID is part of it.
So currently, we don't really have anything, right? I think that's what the misconception is. The memorandum of understanding, the only action that would go before the board, the NID component of it would be very simple. It would say, like, I'm gonna just make up numbers. We are going to, send generally during these months, down the Bear River, 6,000 acre feet of water. It's very, very general. It doesn't have anything to do with timing of flows, where the flows are, or I can send it to you too. It's not a secret document, state document. In the state document, in the term sheet, there is an identification by stem going through the delta of how many acre feet they want during which type of water years. We are currently included on the Yuba line, but we could also be included on the Feather line because the Bear goes to the Feather. So we're still working through all of the issues right now. We don't even have something to share at this point, but please take a look at the voluntary agreement MOU document.
That stem, that document saying how much has to come from each stem, where is that document?
You've seen it before. So it's part of the MOU and the attached term sheet. In the attached term sheet, there's several appendices to it, and it's in one of the appendices.
And that's on the State Water Board website?
I'm sure it is somewhere, but if not, I can send it out.
Please do.
Yeah.
If I
Many of the
recall, we
VA
looked at it and didn't sign on in the moment that we looked at it.
Right.
But so you can
Yeah.
sign on at any time.
Right,
The
right.
urgency is, if you would want to call it an urgency, is the state is starting to do the modeling for the technical information they need to support the supplemental environmental document. That is why they're basically saying, what's your commitment? What's your commitment from a modeling standpoint? They want to know how much more water is going to be going in. And the other benefit to it is habitat projects, right? So with the Hemp Hill project, the habitat baseline is supposed to be set to 2018, so you can get some credit for habitat projects from 2018 forward. And or some money contribution is also an option. There is a pay component, right? Because there's basically sellers and buyers in the program. There's people like us who would be sending water, and then there's exporters down in the valley that would have to pay into a fund that would pay us a nominal portion for the water.
Will that be part of the financial structure explanation for any near or far-time future explanation of where income comes in to the?
It will not be, because it is so gray area unknown right now. I would not bank on any of the numbers. It's kind of the state, you know, one of the things, there's regulation-wise, they're sometimes really good at coming up with regulations, not working on the details. They're in the detail working out period. So I just don't have a lot of information. The numbers have been bouncing around. There's a huge water gap with non-participating agencies. So I just don't have quite a sense where it's gonna fall. Any other questions? Okay, we have one quick item, and I promise you I'm gonna get you out of here before 6. All right, next question. Yeah, and we can just briefly touch on this. You guys don't. What?
Nothing.
Please don't tell me you didn't like the Lego challenge too.
We loved it.
Good. Okay. Yeah. So what Katie is passing out right now is just a really quick spreadsheet. And essentially what it is it's part of the environmental scan. And what it does is it's purely informational. It just provides the mission, vision, values, and strategic priorities for like agencies. And so we don't have to spend a whole lot of time on it. I just thought it might be helpful for you to use as a tool in your back pocket as we go through this for ideas. You know, sometimes I like to look at examples or past work or other people's work, because sometimes the best thing that it does is tell you what you don't want to do, right? So I think, like I said, we don't have to spend a lot of time on it. I'll just point out a couple of things. You'll notice, if you go click on the links especially, and we'll send this out to people on the website, everybody has a different level of sophistication of a strategic plan. I was part of a very sophisticated strategic planning effort that failed terribly because they tried to do it all at once, all the way down to revising job descriptions and annual reviews, and it turned into this mess and no one used it. Or you got something very simple that's focused on strategic priorities like Placer County Water. I think goals have some value and can be served as tools, but I did want to kind of bring some examples to you. And we even threw in the city of Grass Valley, just so you can kind of see what a city would do. Now, mind you, a city has a different legal roots than a water district does, so keep that in mind. The city has more leeway in what their strategic priorities are.
It's really helpful to have the comparison of like agencies.
Yeah, I think it is. We don't have to have a long conversation about it, but I think you do see some real interesting mission statements. Most people fall down as on the vision statement with either not having one or not really understanding what it is. But remember, the vision statement is what you want to be in the future, which is different. What you want to be when you grow up, how cool you're going to be. And, like I said earlier, I think Amazon probably does it the best. They didn't limit themselves to the planet. They're like, we're going to be the best in the universe. Well, guess what, right? They're probably going to be on Mars soon, delivering shoes. So, there definitely is some value in it. So keep this as a tool in your little toolbox if you want to bring it back with you at the next meeting. And we can talk about as much as you want, but I just thought I'd pass it out so you can take a look at it. So coming up at the next meeting, we've talked a lot about what we're going to do at the next meeting. We are going to be focusing on finishing up the environmental scan, and then we're going to be reviewing the SWOT, so the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats process. It was sent out, the SWOT request was sent out to organizational groups that represent some type of stakeholder. They will have an opportunity to present their SWOT directly to this group, and you can ask questions, or they will be submitting it in written form, whatever they desire. You don't have to be here to present to submit. And so those have gone out. We did hear from Tracy, apologize Tracy, somehow we blew it on sending to you. I don't know what we did. We think we might have sent it to an old email, but we'll get you taken care of. We did expand the list. Laura had asked for the tribes to be put on. Rich had a list of people to be put on. So we're taking care of that. Did we do that already? We already put that out.
We went to over 30 groups.
Yes, we have over 30 people who've been invited. If people can participate or not, we just want to give people the option. And then I do want to touch on the public survey. So the public survey is not intended to be some statistically accurate survey that is going to give us with certainty any sense of where the public is at on an micro issue basis. It's intended to take the temperature of the public. I have heard some feedback, not much, but from 2 people, that they felt that the survey was purposely skewed towards Centennial. It was in no way, shape, or form. It actually never crossed anyone's mind to do that. If I wanted to make a survey that was skewed towards Centennial, everybody would know that I made the survey that was skewed towards a particular project. It wasn't at all. It is not meant for as a we'll make decisions tool. It really is just to give this team, the leadership team, a sense of where people are at. You know, it's one of those methods to be able to reach out to individuals that are not represented by a stakeholder group. And that's simply what it is. And in fact, I think the comment portion of it is probably the most fascinating and enlightening, so we'll be sharing all of that. So is there any questions? See, I talked fast, 5:45. Oh, Michael!
So, are these teams gonna be involved with all the rest of the workshop?
No, the strategic plan, just don't say it out loud, because some staff doesn't know that. Yeah, they're gonna be involved.
The same team members are gonna be,
There will be, there's some people, like, for example, Chip is sick, so Chip is not here, but he will be here. There is Naomi on vacation, but she will be
We
here.
may switch the tables up and rotate staff.
Oh, yeah, you won't necessarily have to sit at the same table.
oh, good.
Whatever. That was not nice.
This is like rec team that has the best Legos built.
Yeah.
We want to stay together here.
So I appreciate,
Did you win the prize?
everybody. Does anybody have anything before we wrap it up?
Good job.
Good job.
Nice job.
What's the date for the next meeting?
23rd?
Third.
23rd. Chris?
Yeah.
23rd.
Third.
Oh, yeah, all hands in, we're in, 16. Remember, we want to be on this side, so next time, our team building activities, we'll give ourselves points for when we're high performing, and then we're down in the toilet low performing, so we want to be on this board. Chip's still here. Hi, Chip.
Hi, Chip.
Naomi was not participating, she's in Spain, enjoying herself.
We have wine and cheese afterward for everybody who stays the whole time.
Yes, but I am on plan, so. Ian and I will have water and celery, happy. All right, that's it, thank you, everybody, greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, just for being adjourned.
You're-
That's the only thing I need to do.